You can measure the size of an elephant. You can clock the speed of a cheetah, but you can't quantify the heart of a kings, queens, and in-betweens. Welcome to Dr. Boxing Talk. Stream starts now.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, 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 what it do, what it do? Good, great, grand Monday to you wonderful, beautiful people out there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we're here for another day that we're blessed, man. Brethren and sisters and boys and girls, hermanos, mi hermanas, ladies and lads, amigos, mi amigas, kings and queens, and everything in between. Y'all know what time it is. The doctor's in the house. Yeah. It's Monday, man. A lot of people find it rough on Monday. Find Mondays rough. I love Mondays. I love every day that ends with Y. You heard me, George? Shout out to my brother George, the last patriot in the building. What's good, brethren? What's good? Good evening, my brother. Good evening, good sir. Hopefully everything's well on your side, man. Hopefully everything's well on your side. We have a lot of things to talk about now. We have some crazy developments, man. Some crazy developments that I think is funny. You know, of course, we have the AJ versus Jake Paul, which I think is nuts. And then, of course, we have what else we have? We have Espinosa calling out ducks. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, I be freestyling, man. I need to drop me an album again. You know, go check out Doc's mixtape, man. That was a long time ago, man. But you know, we got AJ and Jake Paul, which is nuts. We got Rafael Espinosa calling out ducks. We got Polly Malignaggi out here talking, not giving no, you know what I'm saying? Expletives. But yeah, man. So before we get to it, though, of course, we got to say our prayers and thanks to the Most High, man. You know, for just being so good to us. You know, we're just leading us in the right direction, and you know, and reinforcing that we could do anything we want, as long as we put God first, you know, because God strengthens us. So please join me and bow your heads. We thank the Most High, and then we get to the show. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your blessings. Thank you for waking us up this morning and bringing us into this day, Lord. We ask you for forgiveness, and we ask you for, you know, just the strength to keep going, and let us be that bright light for somebody a reason for somebody to smile, a reason for somebody to get motivated or inspired. Let us be a reason for goodness, for others to see goodness in the world, Lord. Let us also just handle ourselves with care, take care of ourselves, not just physically, but also mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And we ask that you bless us financially so it can aid in some of those things, Lord. We just thank you for some of the opportunities that you give us, that we have, the talents that we have at our disposal. But we also want to thank you for the doors that you closed, because sometimes we may want something so bad we may not even realize that it's not the best thing for us. Or sometimes we have to be thankful for the doors that you close in order for us to receive the bigger blessings through the bigger doors that you're going to open at a later time. So we just thank you, Lord, for all that you've done. I know our story's already written. We just have to fulfill it according to your will, and give you the glory, and love one another. Through Jesus' name. Amen. 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 So let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. All right. So first thing is first, man. Let's talk about this man, Oleksandr Usyk. Yeah, bro. I'm telling you, bro. When Joseph Parker woke up and read his daily newspaper, I know he blew out a whole pound of coke out of his nose. I'm talking about a whole pound of blow, just because he's fuming right now. I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't feel bad for Joseph Parker, because I thought he was on a pretty fraudulent run, and then he turned around and tried to cheat Fabio Wardley. Not tried to cheat, because it's not cheating if you win, chat. I keep telling people that you could cheat and fail. He just cheated and still lost. You just a dummy. You know what I'm saying? Dummies cheat and fail all the time. You see what I'm saying? So just because it wasn't successful doesn't mean that it wasn't cheating. You know what I'm talking about? If you try to rob a bank, it's still a bank robbery, whether you get away with the money or not, right? So a failed attempt at robbery is still a robbery. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to get punished for robbery, so you should get punished for cheating. And he had cocaine in his system, and so he cheated Fabio Wardley. It just still wasn't enough, and so I just think that with that being said, even despite that, I'm still kind of feeling a little bit bad for him, man. I never did before, but now it's like, gosh dang, man, I know he's in his feels, because Usyk could have gave up the belt a little bit earlier, bro. If Usyk would have gave up his belt 3 weeks ago, Joseph Parker would have been elevated. But Usyk did it. He heard all the chirping by Joseph Parker saying, I want the fight, I want the fight. He said, okay, we gonna see if you get the fight, if you earn the fight. He went to go try to earn the fight via Fabio Wardley, and he got bing boom bopped. He got stopped. You see what I'm saying? And so, Fabio Wardley got elevated. But I just think it's just funny, man. It's like poetic justice. It's just karma, man. Hey, you got to do right, man. Because if you don't do right, it's going to come back. It may not come back tonight. It may not come back tomorrow. It may not come back next month, but maybe next year. Maybe next 2 years, maybe the next decade. Oh, that karma gonna get you. You see what I'm saying? So like, you can't be cheating people. And like I said, for those of you that don't pay attention to boxing as much as I do, you know that this is not Joseph Parker's first run-in with the law in regards to drugs. Back in 2019, he was involved in a meth ring. Well, allegedly, right? He never got convicted for that. So let me speak the truth now. He was alleged to be involved in an international meth ring. And then now he gets caught up with cocaine. And then, not to mention, one of my favorite fighters, man. I don't know, bro. Tyson Fury, I'm saying, the Gypsy King of obesity, he has a history of failing 2 drug tests, right? One with cocaine, and I think the other one was with nandrolone. Don't call me. But anyway, he failed two tests. They're both with the Klitschko fights, right? So, and they're best friends, you know what I'm saying? And Tyson Fury, he'll let you know. He be on the blow. He be on the white girl, the booger sugar, the cocaine, the crack, all that. I'm talking about he be snorting them lines and chopping them up with credit cards. But my boy Tyson Fury be on it now. And so Joseph Parker, maybe they was doing it together. I don't know. It's just me speculating now. But anyway, a lot of people think that cocaine is not a PED for whatever reason. It's like, yes, it is. It has enhancing qualities, right? It also doubles as a recreational drug. Like, if you're not competing, no one's gonna say you're on a performance enhancing drug because you're doing cocaine. You're just doing a recreational drug. But it does have some qualities and characteristics that will enhance your performance. Hence, it's on the performance enhancing drug list, the banned substance list. You know what I'm saying? So it does things like increases your courage. It does things like increases your focus, makes you more alert, makes you feel more invincible. You see what I'm saying? And it even has positive effects on your endurance as well. So there's a couple things that cocaine does for you to benefit. So don't just look at it as though, yeah, Joseph Parker was just partying the night before. No, this was premeditated and calculated. So don't get it twisted, man, because a lot of the effects of cocaine does wear off before. So he probably did it in the locker room. And that's why I personally believe that Andy Lee should be held accountable as well. Maybe not as accountable as Joseph Parker as a fighter himself, but because you're the trainer, I just find it very hard to believe that Andy Lee had no clue that Joseph Parker was on that booger sugar. I find it hard to believe that Derek James had no clue that Ryan Garcia was doing something crazy. I find it very hard to believe that Tony Sims had no clue that Connor Egg, excuse me, that was an accident. Connor Ben was scrambling them eggs. You know what I'm talking about? I find it very hard to believe that Eddie Reynoso didn't know that Francisco Rodriguez Jr. was doing something. I'm not saying that they were supplying them, but as a trainer, negligence is not okay. You see what I'm saying? I haven't heard anything, God forbid, but I haven't heard anything with Bozy Ennis's fighters. I haven't heard anything with Robert Garcia's fighters as of late. I know he had some run-ins in the past, but as of late, he's been doing good. You see what I'm saying, with his fighters. I haven't heard anything with Bomax fighters. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard anything with, there's a plethora of trainers, you know, that haven't heard anything about their fighters doing bad. So, you know, I do think that the trainer should be held accountable to some extent, and I also think that the promoters should also be held accountable too. Like maybe they should forfeit some of their purses, or, you know, some of their earnings. I'm talking about the cut that the promoters get, you know. And like I said, the reason why I'm so hard on it is because I think that people should be punished or reprimanded, because that's how you, let's face it, you're never going to eliminate people stepping over the line habitually, you know. So hopefully you could punish them and stop it. You may make it happen less frequently, but you're never gonna eliminate it, right? But the idea is to mitigate it and reduce it. You see what I'm saying? Just for the integrity and the sanctity of the sport, you know, uphold the purity of the sport and keep it popping how it's supposed to be, man. So yeah, I think that not just the fighter should be punished, but everybody in their inner circle, you know, for the fighter, the trainer, and the promoter should be reprimanded. And that way there's more people that are held accountable to, so there's more people that feel responsible to make sure that everything is copacetic. You see what I'm saying? So I think it should all go together. But yeah, man, so Oleksandr Usyk has definitely vacated his WBO belt, and I don't blame him, man. You know, I don't blame. I mean, he's already undisputed. It's like Terrence Crawford, Nadia Inoue, man. They can do whatever they want. I'm not saying that they shouldn't take challenges if they're going to continue boxing, but who am I to say that these guys who are multi-division undisputed, Terrence Crawford doing it 3 times, the first male ever, the only boxer besides Clarissa Shields to be able to do so, how come I tell them not to do what's best for them in their career? You know what I'm saying? Get the most money. And I'm sorry, I just didn't think that Joseph Parker or even Fabio Wardley provides the most monetary value or legacy value for Oleksandr Usyk. So if he wants to give him the belt and not have to pay the sanctioning fees, go ahead, throw it up. You feel me? So just get rid of it. I'm not mad at Oleksandr Usyk at all. But now shout out to Fabio Wardley. I know a lot of people will say the same stupid nonsense that they always say, right? They say, oh, well, Fabio Wardley, I can't wait for these people to come out, right? Oh, Fabio Wardley, he's not a real champion.
You dumbass.
Oh, he's an elevated champion.
You dumbass.
He's an email champion.
You dumbass.
You see what I'm saying? That's what they always say, right? I keep reinforcing this, right? If Fabio Wardley would have lost, Joseph Parker would be elevated right now. So it's not just a freebie that they received. If it was a freebie or just an email that was randomly sent out to anybody, then Dr. Boxer Talk might have got the WBO championship belt. I ain't got nan belt in front of me, beside me, around my waist, nothing. And neither does your common goofy ass. Do you? So obviously there's some criteria that has to be met, some standards, some qualification that you have to obtain in order to be emailed this belt, right? So shout out to Fabio Wardley, because all that means, since Oleksandr Usyk vacated the WBO belt, all that means is that retroactively, in hindsight, we could look back and say that Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley fought for the WBO belt. That's it. What's the difference? The fight was the same. It doesn't really make that much of a difference if you say, oh, well, that was a title fight at that moment. What's the difference of calling it a title fight at that moment after it already happened? You see what I'm saying? That wouldn't change the fight. You think Joseph Parker would have fought better? Do you think Fabio Wardley would have fought harder? No, it would have been the same fight. Just like when David Morrell was elevated to the WBC champion once the WBC and President Mauricio Solomon stripped Dimitri Bivol. If David Benavidez would have lost to Morrell, Morrell would have been elevated. If Brian Norman would have lost to Giovanni Santillan, Giovanni Santillan would have been elevated. So y'all, we got to stop it, man. Like, we respect these fighters, man. You can't do it if it's just as simple as an email. Then why you ain't provide your email and get emailed the belt there? We need to stop punishing the fighters for something that the sanctioned bodies, with all their greed, that's what they do. You see what I'm saying? That's what they do with all their greed. So shout out to Fabio Wardley. Obviously, the #1 ranked contender right now for the WBO would be Moses Atama. But Moses Atama is fighting Jermaine Franklin. But I would love that fight. Fabio Wardley and Moses Atama. Hey, sign me up. I'm there, baby. Let me watch that fight. But I'm not sure that happens next. Obviously, it doesn't happen imminently, right? Because like I said, Moses Atama is fighting Jermaine Franklin. But could that happen next? Yeah. So I'm gonna see what the WBA does and President Gilberto Mendoza, because right now, currently as it sits, they haven't updated their list yet, and they still have Fabio Wardley listed as the interim belt holder, even though the WBO for President Gustavo Oliveira has just elevated Fabio Wardley to the full champion. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes. We have all casino high rollers in the building. What's good, brethren? We also have Boxing with 2-4 in the building. What up, folk? Big members in the building, man. All Casino High Roller says, show your love. Hit the subscribe button and smash the like button for the doctor. Talk to him, man. Yes, sir. Smash that like button like my brother High Roller says. And hit that subscribe button. Smack that bell, turn on notifications as well. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother 2-4, man. Yeah, bro. So I just think it's nonsense. Colin Atkins said, oh, here he comes with the nonsense. He says, Fabio Wardley's not a real champion. He's a BS champion. Bullshit. He said Fabio Wardley's a BS champion, bro. Here we go. I mean, hey, man. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, no matter how stupid it is. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to Fabio Wardley, man. We can't blame the sanctioning bodies for the decisions that they make. You know, so I mean, you can, but it's up to you, bro. But shout out to Fabio Wardley, man. He is a new champion. I think he's gonna rock it well. And why I'm so happy for Fabio Wardley is because a lot of people didn't anticipate this. A lot of people counting him out, said because he had a limited experience in boxing as far as amateur background goes or lack of. You know, a lot of people counting him out, and he showed you, man, hey, sometimes all it takes is a little bit more determination than the other person. Sometimes it takes a little bit more dedication than the other person. You know, those of us that play sports, we know that there's an adage in sports, right? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I'm not saying Joseph Parker wasn't working hard, but if you own coke and you looking for shortcuts and cheats, then I'm gonna assume that you ain't working as hard because you ain't got that much confidence. You know what I'm saying? So I just shout out to Fabio Wardley, man. I don't know what's next. You know, obviously Usyk doesn't want to defend the WBO belt, but what Usyk could be doing, right? Let's think about it. Usyk could have vacated because he wants a bigger fight. Maybe fight Anthony Joshua for a third time. Please, God, don't let that happen. Please don't let that happen. I don't want to see that trilogy. Or maybe fight Tyson Fury for a third time. Please, God, don't let that happen. We don't want to see that trilogy. Or maybe he could even go down to cruiserweight. I'd be for that. But that's a little bit dangerous, right? When guys go up for such a long time and then go back down, it's kind of dangerous, you know. But I mean, who would be mad at Oleksandr Usyk versus Ja Pataya or Zurdo Ramirez or something like that? I wouldn't be mad at it. But, you know, or he could be doing this too, right? We seen him vacate a belt just to reclaim undisputed again. So maybe he can vacate it and then see what Fabio Wardley does. Maybe he defends his belt and then tries to go for undisputed again. You know what I'm saying? And be a third, another undisputed, another time undisputed in the same division. So he has options, man. Or he could retire, sail off to the sunset, man. Whatever he wants to do, I think is appropriate. And I think we should support it, man. So shout out to Oleksandr Usyk, man. I just thought it was funny, man. I know Joseph Parker has to be in his fields right now. Shout out to my brother Z Pacino in the building, big member in the building. Shout out to my brother George, the last Dragon Born. He says, nothing is necessarily wrong with being an email champion, facts, but it's on the fighter to prove he's worthy of a belt he didn't take from an opponent. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, though. You know, a lot of this stuff it's a facade, right? Like I said before, let's say it was for a vacant belt. What's the difference? Is Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason, the winner of that fight, are they a fake champion because they're not taking the belt off of somebody's waist? You see what I'm saying? It's still for a belt. And why is it? Because somebody vacated. That somebody in this case would have been Keyshawn Davis. You can't help who is in a position to have a belt when people are stripped so willy-nilly. You see what I'm saying? People are awarded belts and stripped of belts all willy-nilly, bro. It's not on the fighters, dog. Like, we have to be practical, right? They're not dreaming of receiving an email. Nobody dreams of getting a belt this way. You think David Benavidez wanted to just receive a belt for the WBC? He's been fighting since he was 3. You think he just wanted to receive a belt like that? No, he would have much rather that even if David Morrell was a champion, that he would take it off of him. Sometimes the fighters can't help the position that they're in. It's like the whole welterweight division when Bud was there. When Bud was an undisputed champion, I'm sorry, I don't know if people pay attention to boxing or not, but that's usually what happens. What transpires is that the other guys below the guy that's undisputed will be elevated because the guy that's undisputed has vacated the belts, went to another division, or a combination of both, or maybe retired. So they literally sometimes can't fight the other guy for a belt to take the belt off of them. So what's the difference? Like, don't get me wrong, of course it looks better when Terrence Crawford beats Canelo and takes his 4 belts. It looks better when Terrence Crawford beats Errol Spence and undisputes like that. It looks better when, you know what I'm saying, Usyk beats Tyson Fury and becomes the first ever undisputed in the last 25 years. Of course you want to do that. You want to get that ceremony right. But like you said, George, if you are a fake champion, a quote unquote undeserving champion, let me not use fake, undeserving champion, then it will be revealed when it's time for you to defend. Like David Benavidez is about to defend his WBC light heavyweight title against Anthony Yarde. This is going to be a moment. You see what I'm saying? But let's not take away the moment and make it seem like he's undeserving when he hasn't even had the opportunity to really show it yet, and it wasn't his fault, right? He essentially won the belt when he beat David Morrell. Was that not a good fight? Last time I checked, everybody was excited for that fight, belt or not. So why would we diminish it and act like, oh, you know, anybody could have got the belt? No, there's a reason why David Benavidez is the champion and not David Morrell or Callum Smith or Joshua Buatsi or Willie Hutchinson or whatever other light heavyweight contender that you have. How, if it's just so easy as just receiving an email, how could Ben Whitaker didn't receive the email? Exactly. So like when you break it down and get out of your emotions and get out of your Twitter rage and your toxicity, then you kind of understand what I'm saying. It's like these fighters don't wake up and plan and dream to be gifted a belt without fighting for it. No, of course they want to fight for it. They want to fight for it like Bam Rodriguez is fighting Puma Martinez for unification. You see what I'm saying? It's not up to them. Yeah, so it is what it is. He said, all Casito High Roller says, I don't blame Usyk for letting that belt go. He proved all he has to prove. Yeah, facts. And if he retired tomorrow, I would not be mad. He should only be taking big money fights or fights with boxers with a lot of hype. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, I mean, you know, it's like he already did the legacy part. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, we don't have to separate the legacy from the money. I think it's a lot of times the legacy fights are the money fights. But Usyk is at a position where, I mean, who's he going to fight? Moses Tama? Well, Moses Tama for what? Moses Tama doesn't have a belt. And if Usyk beats him, it's just going to be, oh, he beat a young guy. So it's nothing really advantageous in fighting him. So it's not really fruitful, you know. But, I mean, I enjoy anytime Usyk's in the ring or Bud's in the ring or any one of the greats in a way or whoever else, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that, yeah, Usyk could do whatever he wants. And I don't think that you should pay sanctioning fees if you don't want to fight your mandatories. And I don't think he'll get much out of fighting Fabio Wardley, but I don't think I saw somebody say that, oh, he's ducking Fabio Wardley. It's like, come on, bro. You just said he was ducking Joseph Parker. Now he's ducking Fabio Wardley too. It's like, come on, bro. Like, stop. Everybody ducking everybody. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to Lee Jackson. What's good? Raw Sports Talk says, why not fight him? Why not fight who? Why not fight Wardley? You saying why Usyk not fight Wardley? Or you saying why not? Wardley didn't really have a say in it. That's why I try to stress to people. The fighters don't really have a say. It's up to the president of the sanctioned body. So this was up to President Gustavo Oliveira. And when I say that, I'm not saying that he knew that Usyk was going to vacate. But once Usyk vacated, the WBO decided to elevate Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley didn't beg for it. That's not how it works. President Gustavo Oliveira could have made Fabio Wardley fight somebody else for it, like a #1 ranked contender, Moses Atama. But they didn't. It's not up to the fighter. It's up to the sanctioned body to strip and to elevate or to make a fight for a title as they see necessary. So I don't, you know, it's always easy to point fingers at the fighter because that's a face we see, but it literally doesn't make sense. Fabio Wardley can't elevate himself. He didn't choose not to fight for the belt. Usyk vacated, and WBO and President Gustavo Oliveira decided that Fabio Wardley, being the interim champion, was in a position to just be elevated as a full title holder, similar to what we saw when Brian Norman beat Giovanni Santillan. Essentially, that was his title fight, right? Because after he beat Giovanni Santillan, Terrence Crawford moved up, and then President Gustavo Oliveira once again decided to elevate Brian Norman. He didn't have another fight to fight for the vacant title. They just essentially called his last fight for the interim title the title fight. That's what the WBO literally does all the time. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not up to the fighters, man. Like we be putting unnecessary hate and pressure on the fighters that I just think, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking, when I say you, I'm not saying you in general. I mean, I'm not saying you specifically. I'm speaking you in general. So I'm not talking to my brother, George, the Last Patriot. I'm not talking to Round One. I'm not talking to Lee Jackson. I'm just speaking in generalities here. When I say you, I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm saying like we, you and all of us, we put as a community, we put so much unnecessary pressure on the fighters like they're doing something wrong. The only thing Fabio Wardley did wrong was beat Joseph Parker. That's it. Because if Joseph Parker would have beat Fabio Wardley, Joseph Parker would have been elevated. You see what I'm saying? The only reason why Joseph Parker wasn't elevated as an interim belt holder, because remember, he was a WBO interim belt holder, is because Usyk still had the belt. So it's just bad timing for Joseph Parker, man. He just Joseph Parker is just guy's name, man. He's just a day late and $1 short. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother Irony in the building, big member in that building. Hey, Dios te bendiga, mi hermano. He said Berserker Barrage. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, my brother, mi hermano Carnal Oscar Perez and El Edificio. Let's go, my brother. Wardley more accomplished than Virgil Ortiz is crazy. Hey, why you throwing strays at Virgil Ortiz? Come on, man. Let me shout out to All Casino High Rollers. He says, or fights that make his legacy better. Yeah, Usyk. Yeah, bro. I don't think anybody could talk about anything Usyk does. Inoue does, especially since Inoue finally fought MJ Akhmadaliev and smoked him. And then Terrence Crawford. I don't think anybody can speak on anything they do. But I do think as boxing fans, we have a right to desire fights. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting Terrence Crawford to maybe fight Boots or maybe fight, I don't know, who's that 1-6 Diego Pacheco or him, Shiraz, something like that. But I think that we also have to acknowledge that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting Fabio Wardley to get a shot at Usyk or Ajit Caballero to get a shot at Usyk. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do think that there's something criminally incorrect and selfish of somebody to make it seem like they haven't done anything else unless they do that. You see what I'm saying? Those are two different things. Like, yeah, I can't wait for Inoue to fight Nakatani, but I don't think he has to fight Nakatani. I've always said that, but I think Nakatani beats him. But like, I don't think he has to fight Nakatani. I would love for him to go up to 126. I don't think he has to go up to 126, which is featherweight. I don't think Usyk has to go down to cruiserweight or has to fight a trilogy with Fury or AJ, or Bud has to fight a rematch with Canelo or whatever it is that people say, or has to fight Boots. I don't think that they have to. But if you're going to keep fighting, I would like to think that their competitive nature would make them at least fight interesting fights, even if it's not the fight that we might necessarily want or prioritize. They're still probably going to be interesting, just the nature of their competitiveness. You see what I'm saying? At least that's what I think anyway. Shout out to George, the last Dragonborn. He said even Wilder got prestige, come on now, by taking the WBC belt from Bermain Stavern, a Haitian American. You know what I'm saying? One time, ça passe for Bermain Stavern, man. A lot of people sleep on him. Like Wilder ain't fight nobody. That was a good win. He had a good fight with Areola too. It doesn't matter if Stavern wasn't that good. He defended from exactly what George is talking about right now, the Chris Areola fight in a rematch, and then Wilder took it from him. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think Bermain Stavern was bad. I think people exaggerate. You know what's so funny? We see it in real time, right? We'll see when two guys could fight the same guy and get two different reactions. I think that if, let's say, somebody that's more loved, right? There's no knock on AJ, but I'm saying if AJ beat Bermain Stavern, he would get more love than Deontay Wilder did for beating him, or if Tyson Fury, because certain boxing fans are just more excited about the sport. You know what I'm saying? Some are more critical, you know, even when the criticism is unwarranted. You know what I'm saying? Bermain Stavern was a champion and he was a good fighter. Was he? I'm not saying that he was George Foreman, rest in peace. I'm not saying that he was Mike Tyson in his prime, but Bermain Stavern was a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, Louis King Kong Ortiz was another good win by Deontay Wilder. Arthur Spilsko was an undefeated contender. That was another good win. You know what I'm saying? We give people credit for beating guys like Otto Wallin, but then we don't give other guys credit for beating champions. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just two different whatever takes on boxing, I guess. Shout out to Oscar. He says Wardley more accomplished than Ortiz. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. But he is, though. I mean, technically speaking, I mean, Wardley has a belt, right? Virgil Ortiz never had a belt at 147 or 154, you know, and Fabio Wardley has a belt. I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy for Fabio Wardley. He deserves it, man. I'm not gonna make it seem like I'm some big huge Fabio Wardley fan. But I did pick up to beat Joseph Parker, and he did that. he did that. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know how long he'll go as a champion. Can Fabio Wardley beat Daniel Dubois? I think he can, but I would probably. It depends on how Daniel Dubois looks post Usyk fight or second Usyk loss. But I would lean towards Daniel Dubois right now. I might change it when I think about it a little bit more. But right now, as of today, assuming that Daniel Dubois looks the same, if he looks at, cause I'm gonna be honest, man, I didn't think that Daniel Dubois, Daniel Dynamite Dubois, Triple D, I didn't think he looked that bad against Usyk. I might be in the minority in that, but what I saw was some people just look at the results, right? And a lot of people just look at it and be like, oh yeah, well, he got knocked out, so he got dominated. What I saw was a guy that was fighting pretty well, and he rocked Usyk a couple times, and then not only that, when he got hurt, he bit down and tried to come forward, and that's what got him folded up ultimately, right? But it wasn't like he backed out or he cowered under the pressure. He didn't go out like Jermell Charlo versus Cinnamon. You see what I'm saying? He didn't go out like whoever else that kind of went out sad. You see what I'm saying? Where they just seemed to fold, or like Derek Cuevas against Brian Norman. He didn't go out like TJ Doheny against Naoya Inoue. Like he didn't go out sad. We called him a quitter because his orbital bone was literally busted. He literally had to get surgery after Joe Joyce. People called him a quitter for that. I think that if you don't have an eye, a fully functional eye, that's a pretty good reason to not continue fighting, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I think that you kind of need your eye in a boxing fight, but that's just me though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you should quit, but we got to give some grace, man, and apply some common sense, right? So anyway, they said he quit, right? Well, then when he bites down and tries to come forward when he was hurt and he gets knocked out, we still criticize him. So you damned if you do, damned if you don't, man. So shout out to Daniel Dubois. Usyk is just one of the all-time greats. You know what I'm saying? There's no shame in the losing to that. You know, and then even with Anthony Joshua, right? People are like, oh, Anthony Joshua just got obliterated by Daniel Dubois. Yeah, Daniel Dubois was an IBF champion. There's no shame in that. And then Anthony Joshua, like Daniel Dubois, when Anthony Joshua got hurt, he recovered, he hurt Daniel Dubois, and he tried to go for the kill, and he got stopped. It was a valiant effort. So I don't know, man. People are funny, man. Like even Errol Spence got beat from pillar to post by Terrence Crawford. But one thing you cannot say is that he quit. He kept coming and he kept fighting. And he was just outmatched. So we got to record. I think that's something to talk about as well. I think that's something to that we could actually applaud, in my personal opinion. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, Danny Dubois definitely got he got packed up. He definitely got packed up. Let's be real said, is Usyk a duck? Come on, bro. Heck no, bro. Stop it, man. Hey, bro. I'm so glad you said that though. Let's be real, because you know that's gonna come first. They're gonna say, well, I don't know what order, but let's just say first we're gonna hear Usyk's a duck for not fighting Wardley because he vacated. Then we're gonna also hear that Wardley is a fake champion because he was elevated, right? The same thing we hear about David Benavidez being a fake champion because he was elevated by the WBC. Same thing we hear about essentially all the welterweight champions at post Terrence Crawford, right? They said Brian Norman was email champ. Who was the other guy? I don't know. WBA. Who was that? Rolly Romero after he beat Ryan. Who's the WBC? Mario Barrios. IBF is Louis Crocker now, but before that was John Bucinis. That's just what we do, man. Like, but we got to understand how boxing works. Where there's an undisputed champion, everybody is effectively an email champion, because once the undisputed guy leaves, then the sanctioning body is either going to make two guys fight for a vacant title, or they're going to elevate their interim champ to the full champion. That's how boxing works. I don't even understand, man. So nah, I don't think Oleksandr Usyk's a duck. I think if anybody calls Usyk a duck, I think that is straight
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit!
Yeah, I don't think I'm not saying he can't be a duck, but like I said, we don't know if Usyk's retiring. We don't know if Usyk's gonna continue fighting. We don't know what he's gonna do. So I don't think Wardley is, not saying Wardley can't beat him now. It's a heavyweight, especially because it's a heavyweight division, but I don't think Wardley poses a threat that Usyk has to see before to make him duck. Let's check out Z Pachito. He said Jada Robio just stopped the dude Tito Mercado and Dev couldn't. Bro, it's so funny that you say that. You talk about endogeny, right? You talking about endogeny. I love that conversation. We're going to get back to that, Z Pachito. Remind me. We're going to get back to that. All Casino High Roller says, what do you think of AJ and Jake Paul, Doc? I dropped a video on that, man. You got to go check it out. But we're going to get to that as well after this. Remind me to get back to that, All Casinos. Boxing with Two Folks said, I'm on the 2K grinding for these badges. I'm sure leap. So check this out. So Yeah, so I don't think like I said, I kind of feel bad for Parker, man, because I don't feel bad for Parker because he's a cheater, so that's what he gets, because we don't rock with cheaters around here. We definitely don't rock with cheaters around here. You know what I'm saying? Parker's a cheater.
We do not let people who are on the juice discuss real athletes. That's all.
It's like being a bad liar. Like, you lying and you a bad one. So you're a cheater and a bad one. But yeah, I think Usyk, if Usyk doesn't want to pay the sanctioned fees, he doesn't want to fight the mandatories, vacate the belt. I have no problem with that. I only think people are ducking for the most part is if they have a belt and they don't want to fight their mandatory and they don't vacate. It's like, bro, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? There was no hype behind Wardley. Nobody was looking forward to Usyk versus Wardley. It just happened. So let's see what Let's Be Real says. He says Duckett is not fighting the mandatory. Nah, I think Duckett is. I think it's a little more than that. You know what I'm saying? It's like Terrence Crawford, right? Terrence Crawford's gonna have some mandatories now that he beat Canelo, right? He's gonna inherit those mandatories. Is he ducking those mandatories if he doesn't fight them next? I mean, maybe you would say yes. I would say no. You know, I think that if you're holding a belt for a while and then your mandatory has been ordered or called for a while and you don't fight it, then yeah, I agree. That's ducking. You see what I'm saying? So like, I don't like Wardley. You could say that he was supposed to fight. What's his name? Who did Wardley just beat? Joseph Parker, right? For the interim belt. The WBO belt was next, right? Because Daniel Dubois was the IBF, so that was a mandatory then, and then it was the WBO's turn, right? But Joseph Parker, and rightfully so, didn't want to wait. He said that Usyk was injured, right? Let's not forget the process now. Let's not revise history. Usyk was injured, and Joseph Parker didn't want to wait. He wanted to fight in the interim, so he fought and he lost. So now Fabio Wardley won. Shout out to Fabio Wardley. But there was no hype behind, oh yeah, man, Usyk gave up the belt because he knew Wardley was gonna beat Joseph Parker. Like, come on, bro. Like, now we just, everybody can't duck everybody. We gotta relax. Now if your mandatory has been there and has been called on, like for example, the reason why I said Naoya was ducking MJ Mardaliev is because that was a mandatory that was in place for 2 years. You see what I'm saying? And then he was having other fights and pushing him to the side while his mandatory was called. His mandatory was ordered for 2 years, so that's why I thought that. That's why I said that. So that's different than this situation. Now I'll say this: it would have been a duck to me if he would have kept the belt and then didn't fight Fabio Wardley and it was ordered. That's a duck. But there's no telling what Usyk was gonna do. You know, we still don't know if Usyk's gonna fight again. We don't know what Usyk's doing. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know what he's doing. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, I know that Ajit Kabayel may want to fight him. I'm not gonna lie. If he let's say hypothetically speaking, he continues to fight and he fights Ajit Kabayel. What would you rather see? Would you rather see Fabio Wardley versus Usyk or Usyk versus Ajit Kabayel? I think Ajit Kabayel is a better fight. So Usyk hasn't shown me that he has not fought somebody and took like a weak challenge. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't. And like I said, he could vacate it and then come back and fight Fabio Wardley for undisputed again. I don't know what he's gonna do, so we'll wait and see. But now I'm not gonna call him a duck right now. I think that's a premature assessment to me. That's just my personal opinion on that. Let's be real. Shout out to you though, bro. That's a good question though, man, because people have been called ducks for less. I agree. You see what I'm saying? So no, if we're gonna call, for example, if we're gonna call Canelo ducking people that were his mandatories that weren't ordered, like a David Benavidez, then I'm not mad at anybody calling Usyk a duck. I just vehemently disagree. That's all. You know, I mean, if you want to say he's ducking, I don't think so. But we just gotta disagree. But I don't think that's wrong to ask the question. But I think it's wrong to bestow that title as a duck on him. You know what I'm saying? Oscar Perez says, funny how people are quick to say Usyk a duck, but Nick Ball gets, you see what I'm saying? Nick Ball, yeah, to me, Nick Ball, I don't understand how is Nick Ball, don't get me wrong, Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa, that's a good fight. He's finally fighting a legitimate 126 featherweight, you see what I'm saying? Instead of pulling somebody up for the last 3 fights. Because Ronnie Rios, he had a fight, when he fought Nick Ball, that was his second fight at 126. His 4 fights before that were at 122. So he wasn't fighting a career featherweight, right? I mean, I say you have to be a career, but at least spent a substantial amount of time at 126. So he pulled Ronnie Rios up, essentially. He definitely pulled up TJ Doheny. TJ Doheny just got knocked out by Naoya Inoue at super bantamweight. That was a cool defense for the WBA President Gilberto Mendoza. Then he fought Sam Goodman, who was another super bantamweight who was going to fight Naoya Inoue. So Nick Ball, he wasn't even fighting guys from his division. You see what I'm saying? And then now he's fighting Brandon Figueroa, which I think is a great fight, but I don't get how they skipped the WBA interim title holder, Argentine Marco Cuello. I don't understand that, but I gotta look into that a little bit more and see what that reasoning is. But yeah, man. But yeah, so let's move on, man. I want to move on to the AJ and Jake Paul. Shout out to all Casino High Rollers. He said I would rather Usyk wait for Moses Atama to win a belt. That fight will blow quick. I agree with that. Now, AJ versus Jake Paul, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Y'all go get mad at me, bro. Sisterin and brethren. Y'all about to get mad at me what I'm about to say. I can feel it in the air. Don't forget to smack that like button. We got to respect Jake Paul, man. Now, if you want to be a cynic, if you want to be cynical, and if you want to be skeptical, you know what I'm saying? That's okay. But you can always say, okay, Jake Paul is doing this out of desperation because he needs money. Probably true. Because I don't see why you would fight a heavyweight in 1 month notice, because it's in December 19th in Miami. That's a month from now. Today's November 17th, so it's literally a month. He's going to be fighting AJ, a former unified, well, you're not a former. Once you're a gold medalist, you're always a gold medalist. So a gold medal Olympian, former unified champion, and Anthony Joshua. Now, the reason why I don't think is that surprising, because, you know, I pay attention to a lot of boxing, right? So I know that Anthony Joshua, it's not the first time that they were in talks, right? This is actually the second time. The first time, well, let's start from the beginning. Jake Paul has been targeting who? Cinnamon, right? He's been targeting Canelo because Canelo's the face of boxing, right? And then once Turkey, he was about to secure that, and then Turkey intervened and intercepted the pass. You know what I'm saying? And had Cinnamon fight Bud, right? So that was the face of boxing. He was going for the big money there. That fell through. Then he targeted Anthony Joshua. I know a lot of people don't remember because it was so brief, but he was in talks with Anthony Joshua, but they couldn't agree to the terms, primarily because Jake Paul fights on what? Netflix, that platform. Anthony Joshua fights on what? He has exclusivity to DAZN. So that was a conflict of interest right there. So we know being on different broadcast platforms stops a lot of fights from happening, not just Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, but a lot of fights. So it's a huge roadblock. So instead of ironing out a specific deal to satisfy the two broadcasting giants, Netflix and DAZN, he pivoted and went to who? Another cash cow in boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis. But because of the lack of sales, ticket sales, revenue generation, in addition to the domestic violence case that was alleged on Gervonta Tank Davis with his goofy behind, you know what I'm talking about? Over here having another DV case. Yeah. Allegedly, right? That was called off, and then he went back to Anthony Joshua, and apparently they were able to iron out the details where I'm assuming that DAZN will get a piece of the pie since the fight's going to be on Netflix. You know what I'm saying? And Anthony Joshua, someone confirmed it too. He's like, don't worry, DAZN, I'll be back. I'm on from DAZN, but I'll be back next fight. That's what he said on his Twitter. So yeah, it seems like they ironed out a deal. But the reason why I say you got to respect Jake Paul for it, because I don't care for what reasons you're doing it. This man is still going from YouTube to fighting a former heavyweight champion. I don't want to hear about Anthony Joshua being washed because he lost to a heavyweight champion and Daniel Dubois. I don't want to hear that nonsense, man. This guy is a gold medal Olympian, former unified champion, and Jake Paul's about to fight him, bro. I got to give Jake Paul love and respect, not just from him finally stepping up to fight a real serious contender, but also to even get that far in his journey, man. You got to respect the hustle. I'm not saying you got to take the whole thing is good, because I'm not saying you got to consider him as a real boxer, because I still don't consider him a real boxer until he fights other legitimate boxers, like other cruiserweights, you know what I'm saying? Guys that are his size instead of Tank Davis, the guys that actually fight in the sport instead of basketball players like Nate Robinson and whoever else, and former UFC fighters like Ben Askren and stuff like that. So until he does that, then I won't consider him a real boxer. But as far as his influence on the sport, from bringing eyes to the sport, you got to remember Mario Barrios, who's a WBC champion, welterweight champion. He's been on the undercard of Jake Paul. Bruce Shushu Carrington, who's a highly covered contender in the featherweight division. He's been on the undercard of Jake Paul. Daniel Dubois is a former IBF champion. He's been on the undercard of Jake Paul. So he brings more eyes to the sport, and then not to mention his influence on women's boxing as a whole. He's doing good things, but I see him more as of like a promoter that participates in boxing in order to bring eyes to his production. That's how I see him. I see him as more so a promoter than an actual fighter. But the fact that if, like I said, I'm still holding my breath. I'm not sure if it's going to actually come into fruition, but if he actually steps into the ring with Anthony Joshua on December 19th, hey, man, you got to respect it a little bit. I'm not saying a lot of it, but you got to at least respect it, man. He's getting in the ring with a beast, and I think he's going to get Francis Ngannou'd. I think Anthony Joshua's going to do exactly what he did to AJ to Jake Paul. And if he does it, I don't really believe in the scripts, but if he doesn't smoke him, I might start to consider the fact that some of these fights are scripted. Let me check some of these comments, man. Let me see. B-Dog says, salute. He said, I respect it if it's a real fight. They say it's a real fight, man. They say, I mean, they let out, I dropped a video on it. Go check it out. Go smash the like on this video and go check out that video. Smack that like. So it's December 19th in Miami, the same arena that was going to be in with Tank Davis. And it's a professional sanctioned 3-minute round, 8 3-minute round fight. Professional fights for 8 rounds, 3 minutes, 10-ounce gloves. But there is a stipulation. You know, it's Jake Paul. It's always going to have a stipulation, right? And that stipulation is that Anthony Joshua cannot come in at more than 245 pounds. So that's very odd for a heavyweight to have a weight limit, because the whole point of heavyweight is to be no limit. You see what I'm saying? Like Master P and them. So there's usually no weight limit or restriction, but he essentially put on a rehydration clause on AJ. So he cannot come in above 245. But I'm going to tell you why this is not that big of a deal for me. And I know it's a long time ago now. Okay, so there's 2 parts, right? One hand, Anthony Joshua has been under 245 at 245 or below before, right? The other hand, the negative side is that it was a long time ago. The last time Anthony Joshua weighed 245 was the second Usyk fight, so the rematch. So for Usyk, he weighed 245, the second fight. The first Usyk fight, I'm going off the top of my head now, if my memory serves me correct, I believe he weighed 240 for the first Usyk fight. And then the fight before that was Andy Ruiz. I think he weighed 237 or something like that. You can check it out on BoxRec. So those are years ago, obviously, right? I think he fought Usyk for the last time in, 2022 or something like that. So it was a little while ago. But when he fought Dubois, I think he came in at 252. And when he fought Ngannou, I think it was 255. So that's not too far from where he has to be. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with it. I think it's whack. I do think it's whack. Because it's like he always tried to reach for something, and I hope that Anthony Joshua is able to comply, because I ain't gonna lie, if he doesn't comply, then I want to be mad at Jake Paul if he cancels it. You know what I'm saying? Because he probably will cancel it. You see, but yeah. So 8-round fight, 3-minute rounds, 10-ounce gloves, professional sanctioned fight, and AJ cannot. The stipulations that AJ cannot come in over 245. Yeah, rehydration clause on a heavyweight, sir, is crazy. It's crazy, sir. Hey. Shout out to Al Casino High Roll. He said, okay, Doc, I hear what you were saying about giving Jake Paul respect, but it's kind of hard to, because of the people that he has boxed so far. I agree. I'm with you 100%. And I can't get my head around if it will be real or fixed. But look, I'm going to be honest, man. Jake Paul did this to himself. I mean, he fought a whole bunch of MMA guys from what? He fought, was it Mike Perry? Is it Mike Perry? Yeah, Mike Perry. Like we said, Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley. He fought fresh out of rehab, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know what I'm saying? He fought a 60-year-old geriatric Mike Tyson. So no, if anybody's skeptical, I'm not mad at you. You should be. You know what I'm saying? You probably have more reasons to be suspicious than you do. You're probably more of a fool if you think it's real and legitimate than you are if you're skeptical, because, you know, it's Jake Paul we're talking about, you know. But like I said, I'm gonna give him respect, but the caveat is, if it goes 8 rounds, oh, somebody lying. And this is the bad part too, because I'm gonna admit this is wrong, but I'm gonna admit, if Jake Paul wins, I'm not gonna believe it. I'm gonna believe it was fake. If it goes the distance, I'm gonna believe it was fake. I just can't see that with AJ. You see what I'm saying? So he's essentially in a lose-lose situation, because if he wins, I'm gonna think it's scripted. If he loses and he doesn't lose bad enough, I'm gonna think it's scripted. The only way I'll believe it is if he gets knocked smooth out. So the only way I think he wins is if he loses, because then, you know, then people will believe that he's in a real fight. And I've been seeing a lot of people think it's dangerous, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. It is kind of dangerous, but at the same time, boxing is a dangerous game. So I don't have any sympathy as far as it being dangerous. I mean, this is what you signed up for. You fought a guy that was 60 years old. That's dangerous. You're about to fight a guy that's 135 pounds, champion or not. You're still 50 pounds more than him. You know what I'm saying? Way more than him. So this guy is a guy that takes advantage of other people. You know what I'm saying? He'll only fight you if he has a significant advantage over you. So all these people that are saying, oh, it's dangerous for him, you know, boxing is dangerous, period. It's a dangerous sport. So no, I don't have any excessive fear of him getting hurt any more than I would have any fear of Brian Norman and Devin Haney getting hurt, or any more do I have a fear that Anthony Yarde and David Benavidez could get hurt. That's the nature of the sport. You know what I'm saying? We've seen Alexander Usyk and Adonis Stevenson, Superman Stevenson, he's hurt. You see what I'm saying? So every time we watch boxing, somebody could get hurt. So I'm not going to share any extra additional sympathy for a guy who's finally fighting a guy that can hurt him. You see what I'm saying? He's been getting away with fighting guys that could not hurt him this whole time. So, nah, I don't really understand that sentiment when people say, oh, Jake Paul, I'm afraid for his welfare. Nah, I mean, when you're in the boxing ring, you can get it. That's how it goes. I'm not hoping that I hope everybody is safe, and I hope everybody is healthy. What I'm saying is that I'm not going to give any additional consideration to the health or welfare of a guy that's boxing when I just watched Chris Eubank and Conor Benn just box. What are we doing? I just watched Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano box. They have the same dangers that Jake Paul does, right? And you could really argue that Jake Paul has really put himself in situations to where his opponents were in danger because he was taking advantage of them. So if anything, this will be recompense. You know what I'm saying, for his past slights. But yeah, I think that this is a good fight. I mean, it's not like Anthony Joshua is way bigger than Jake Paul. Granted, he's way bigger, but it's not 135 to cruise. It's not lightweight to cruiserweight bigger is what I'm saying. So we just seen Terrence Crawford come up to 3 weight classes. Essentially, it was really 2, but you know, he only had 1 fight at 154, so you could argue that it was 3 weight classes. We just saw that. We saw Roy Jones go up to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz. So we've seen stuff like this before, man. So no, I don't really have any type of extra fear for Jake Paul. I mean, he'll get concussed like Francis Ngannou got concussed, and then he'll be all right. You feel me? So I don't even understand that sentiment, man. It's like to me, it's just people just want to have their cake and eat it too. It's like you want this guy to fight somebody that's a real caliber fighter, a high caliber fighter, a quality fighter, and then when he does, then you're saying, "Oh, I'm worried about his welfare." Which one do you want? You want him to keep fighting Mike Tyson? You want him to fight Shakur Stevenson? You want him to fight Naoya Inoue? You want him to fight Nick Ball? You're okay with that, but then when he doesn't do that, then you're saying you're afraid for his welfare. That's what you signed up for. That's what everybody signs up for. God forbid, look what Jin Sasaki just went through. You see what I'm saying? So God forbid, I hope everybody, just like in every fight, I hope everybody's safe. But I'm not gonna act like, oh well, you know, I'm worried about his. Nah, he'll be all right. Just like everybody else that gets knocked the freak out his eye. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, so I don't really. Hey, B-Dog said that's the way I see it too. You feel me? Hey, the only way I'm gonna believe it is if he gets knocked smooth out. If any other way, I'm not gonna believe it, B-Dog. I'm not gonna believe it, bro. Ramon Safu said Jake Paul's like Drake of rapid drill music. What's up with Drake, man? I saw Drake some tweet he put about mind them lying about the mind them something mind them. It's like, bro, sometimes I wonder if Drake has an identity crisis, man. One day he from the South, the other day he from Canada, next day he British. Talk about mind them. Well, bro, get your identity, man. Get your identity, man. The man got an identity crisis, man. The man don't know who he want to be and when he want to be it. So yeah, man. So I just think that I think there's actually, like I said, I'm not sure that this fight actually happens. It has been announced. The terms have been released, and the date and everything, all the particulars, the logistics have been announced and squared off and released. So I believe there's no real reason to doubt it, besides all the other reasons to doubt it. Like, it's Jake Paul. You just never know, man. But like, if Jake Paul does this, I got to give him credit, man. I got to give him credit for stepping in there with Anthony Joshua. But like I said, it could be for an act of desperation because he has been making a lot of money lately, and you know, he anticipated to make a lot of money with Tank, and so he's going with AJ this time. It may be more so of a money grab that it is for actually because he's really wants to take. More so that he actually wants to step up. I'm not sure he actually wants to step up more so than he wants to get some money. But in this way, he's actually doing both. So I can't knock. He's going to get some money and he's stepping up. And he might get knocked smooth out. Shout out to Al Casitos. He says, if Jake Paul runs around the ring, gets him tired, and when he does throw a punch, if he connects to AJ's tummy, he might make the distance. If he don't, he's going to sleep calming down. Come on, man. And that's what I'm saying. Even then, even that way, I still won't believe it because Like I said again, I'm going to re-emphasize this. Anthony Joshua is an Olympian. I should not be able to run around the ring again. In fact, I couldn't. Like when people say run around the ring, I feel like in our heads we imagine that it's some type of infinite plane that you could just run forever. No, you're in a confined space. If Jake Paul could run away for 8 rounds against Anthony Joshua, I'm gonna give him credit. Well, no, I'm gonna think it's scripted. I already said that. I'm gonna think it's scripted. But what I'm saying is, if somebody could legitimately run away from Anthony Joshua or a professional fighter for 8 rounds, then I got to give him some credit. So that's when people say like, oh, Devin Haney ran from Jose Carlos Ramirez for 12 rounds. It's like, bro, Jose Carlos Ramirez is a former unified champion and a former Olympian. If you could run away in a squared circle or confined space, then hey, by all means, you know what I'm saying? People will cut off the ring. You didn't see when who we just fought? Who we just watched? We just watched Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. Conor Benn was cutting off the ring on Eubank. That's how he got the, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons how he got Chris Eubank tired. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy around the circumstances for the fight. Circumstantially, I did not like the fight, but you know, we got to judge off performances, and this performance for Chris Eubank wasn't good, and a large part of that was because Conor Benn did not allow him to box like he did in the first fight. But you know, of course, you have the weight stipulations and all this other stuff. But man, once you sign up for it, man, I got to judge your performance once you're in the ring, and he was in the ring, so it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. But now let's talk about Espinosa, man. I want to move on to Espinosa. Shout out to Z Pacino. I want to move on to Espinosa, man. Shout out to Oscar. He says that we talked about Duck Ball. No, bro. You not listening, bro? What you listening to, bro? Now I'm about to make my way to Duck Ball. Now, man, I want to shout out to Rafael Espinosa, man. Rafael Espinosa fought this weekend, the WBO featherweight champ, and dang, the WBO has been on a hot topic for us today. But another WBO champion, Mexican champion, Rafael El Divino Espinosa, man. My personal favorite at featherweight. I think if anybody could become undisputed, it would be him. You see what I'm saying? And he just beat who did he just fight? Arnold Kagai, right? Ukrainian contender, never been stopped before. Rafael Espinosa stopped him. And it was a good fight, man. It was a valiant effort from Arnold Kagai, but he was just outmatched. You know what I'm saying? The 6'1" Rafael Espinosa was just too much. And it'll be too much for a lot of people. At least I anticipate him to be too much for a lot of people. That's why I think he's the best, you know. But something that transpired after made me happy. Made me very happy was that Rafael Espinosa, at least to my knowledge from what I've seen, I'm more excited about what he did not do than what he did do. And what he did not do was call out Naya Inoue. Oh my gosh, that was a breath of fresh air, bro. Everybody's been calling out Naya Inoue, and he's not even in your division, bro. And I've said this before too, and some people got mad at me. I made a video about Nick Ball a little while ago, and I've been said this about a year ago. For over a year, that Nick Ball was targeting Naya Inoue as a way to duck the other champions. And people thought I was crazy. But now Rafael Espinosa, he literally said the same thing. And I want to pull it up so I can show y'all. But while I pull it up, I'm going to run this ad on y'all one time. Don't forget to check us out on all platforms, baby. For your listening pleasure, we are now on Spotify under Dr. Boxing Talk. The same thing on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, everything. Dr. Boxing Talk, man. Come rock with us. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. So let me see if I can find it. I can't even find it. Rafael Espinosa. Of course I can't find it now. That's crazy. Here you go. So Espinosa has said this, chat. Espinosa has said, we need an undisputed champion at featherweight. And I love to hear this. And then he even specified this and said, let me see if I can find it. He said, nobody is waiting for Inoue anymore. He's not moving up. So that excuse is out. He said they very clearly don't want to fight each other. So I'll go chase them all. If they run too far, then I'll make sure I'm the best possible option for the Inoue Nakatani winner, should that person move up. But becoming undisputed champion is my main goal. So shout out to him, man. Shout out to Rafael Espinosa. I love this type of talk because I've said this before, man. I think Nick Ball is the biggest offender. You know what I'm saying? I think he's the biggest offender. And he said, this is what Rafael Espinosa said. He said, we need an undisputed champion at featherweight. I don't know why we haven't landed any other champions at featherweight. That will be a priority in 2026. I'm going to push my team to get those guys in the ring. I don't care about the order as long as they happen. So basically, he's telling you like, hey man,
You're listening to Pleasure. We are now on
my bad.
Spotify under Dr. Boxing Talk. The same thing on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, everything. Dr. Boxing Talk, man. Come rock with us. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
My bad. I didn't mean to run that again, but I was gonna let the whole thing play out. You heard me. Shout out to my brother Thomas Hill in the building. But yeah, so he's just saying what I've already said multiple times. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all smacking that like button. Don't forget to do that. But yeah, Rafael Espinosa's like, hey man, I want to fight these guys. And I know that there was some uncertainty about whether he was going to stay at 126 or 130 because the rumors were, and I talked about this before as well, that Top Rank and Bob Arum were trying to coerce him and convince him to go to 130. But he's like, no, I want to stay at 126. And I'm so glad he does that because I love when there's 4 different champions, but I like when the champions want to unify. You see what I'm saying? That's why I rock with Juto Nakatani, because at 118, there was 4 different champions. At the time, it was Juto Nakatani for the WBC, Ryosuke Nishida for the IBF, WBA was Seiya Tsutsumi. He still is, I should say is. And the IBF, I already said that. WBA, WBO was Takuma Inoue. Not Takuma Inoue, sorry. Yoshiki Takei, right? So then Juto Nakatani, before he left to 122, he said, I'm gonna make sure that you know that I'm the best. And he fought the undefeated Ryosuke Nishida unified. So at 126, we have the WBA champion Nick Ball, WBC champion Stephen Fulton, IBF champion Angelo Leo, and then the WBO champion Rafael Espinosa, with Shushu Carrington claiming that he wants to fight everybody. And I'm gonna be honest, man, like I like Shushu, but I don't think that he really wants to fight Espinosa, because in theory, Espinosa and Shushu would be the easiest fight to facilitate, right? Because they're both on Top Rank. However, I'm not saying Shushu is scared, but every time he calls him out, especially Espinosa, it's always when he's occupied. But he did say after he beat Arnold Kagai, his last fight, that he wants to fight Espinosa. Like I said, I don't know if I believe it, because I'm not sure if Top Rank would even let that fight happen until they're both champions. But the good news is that Shushu is a WBC interim champion, right? The WBC full champion is Stephen Fulton. He's moving up to fight the WBC champion at 130, fellow American Oshiki Foster. So maybe Shushu will get elevated. And then hopefully we'll get that unification between the then WBC holder, which would be Shushu if they elevate him, with President Mauricio Solomon, versus Espinosa. That'd be a great fight. But like I said, with Nick Ball, who's a WBA champion, he hasn't even talked about fighting the other champions. And he hasn't really been upholding his end of the bargain as a effective, suitable champion, right? He hasn't been meeting the criteria. He's been fighting guys that aren't even in his weight division. Now, I could go to the IBF champion too, American Angelo Leo, but I got to give him some grace because his last fight was against Tomoki Kameda, who was the IBF mandatory. He fought him, and then this fight before that was against Luis Venado Lopez, where he just won the title. So now he's about to fight a South African contender, Larato Lamini, for a homecoming fight in New Mexico. I'm not mad at that. You see what I'm saying? Because he just got the belt, his fight before that. His last fight, he defended against his IBF mandatory, Tomoki Kameda. And then now he's about to get a little, a somewhat easy fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say easy fight, but he's getting like, a homecoming fight, which are typically lighter touches. So I'm not too mad at him. And then, like I said, the WBC champion, Stephen Fulton, he's moving up. So I'm going to give him some slack. But WBA champion, he's fighting Brandon Figueroa, Nick Ball. Like, I'm so glad that Espinosa specifically called out Nick Ball. It's like, bro, you're not fighting. So shout out to Espinosa, man. I think Nick Ball's been getting away with lackluster performances and lackluster, unsatisfactory opponents. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, Nick Ball, he's been getting away with it. Nobody calls him out. He's habitually, continuously, repeatedly, frequently fighting guys from the lower division, and he's supposed to be a champion, man. So I don't understand why he's not fighting the WBA interim champion, Marco Coelho. But we'll see, man. I think him and Brandon Figueroa is going to be a good fight. I think it heavily depends on what the ref is going to do. If the ref is going to allow Nick Ball, the wrecking ball, to rough him up and play dirty like he usually does. Remember, he kicked TJ Doheny in the nuts. He was roughhousing and wrestling Ronnie Rios. The man's a dirty fighter, bro. So is he a good champion though? Hey, he's a WBA champion, respected. But hopefully he gets his unifications, man. I want to see the British WBA champion Nick Ball versus any one of the other champions. But right now, it seems like it could have been Rafael Espinosa, the Mexican WBO champion. But we'll see how it goes, man. Nick Ball been ducking. And look, Oscar wanted to talk about Nick Ball. We talk about Nick Ball. Oscar not even here. That's crazy. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to Ramon. He said he's acting like Virgil Ortiz with the interim. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And Ramon says sometimes hometown fights don't go exactly how the hometowner predicts. That's a fact too, because there's some pressure fighting at home, right? You got your people there. You want to show out for your hometown and your family, and sometimes there's added pressure, right? And then sometimes there's no pressure on the person that's coming in, and you never know, man. So, but yeah, I want after Angelo Leo fights him. Now, I will say this: this is the good news. Angelo Leo is Angelo Leo. He's co-promoted by Top Rank and Pro Box. So, like I said, Rafael Espinosa's on Top Rank, Bruce Shushu Carrington's on Top Rank. So in theory, these fights are easy to make, right? Or easier to make than if they were on separate promotions, right? So hopefully after the homecoming, we could get some of these fights. Like Espinosa said, hopefully in 2026, we could get some of these fights at featherweight to start to straighten, get some straightening to see who's the best at 126. You see what I'm saying? He said, I'm here. I know you here, bro. I know you here. That's why I'm messing with you, bro. That's my brother. Shout out to Oscar. But yeah, so but I definitely think that we should, you know, like let's be real. I think it was let's be real in the chat earlier. It was holding Usyk accountable for not fighting his mandatory. I think that we should do that more often, but we should also make sure that we do it where it's more applicable to guys that are not upholding their end of their obligations as a champion, and they're doing it for a long period of time. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, I would love for Usyk to fight Wardley, but I can't necessarily say that's the best fight, and I can't necessarily say that because he doesn't fight Wardley, he's ducking him. He just got on the scene. But Mirko Cuello, he's been there for a little minute now, you know. And but I want to reiterate, Brandon Figueroa versus Nick Ball is a good fight. I just don't understand how Brandon Figueroa could get a title shot again. He just lost his title to Stephen Fulton in their rematch, and then he fought Joet Gonzalez, which was a terrible, I don't want to say it was a terrible performance. His was a lackluster, it wasn't a good performance, but Joet Gonzalez performed well too. So I don't want to take anything away from Joet Gonzalez. But yeah, I don't think that was a performance that really justified you getting another title shot. You see what I'm saying? But hey, Nick Ball and Brandon Figueroa, that is a legit fight, and I think it's going to be a good one, man. I'll be rooting for Brandon Figueroa, but I'm not sure who's going to win that one, I'll be honest. Because Nick Ball kind of, you know, shout out to our British brethren and sister, but he kind of strikes me as a guy, which a lot of our British brethren and sister are. A lot of times they're pretty protected. And if they take a fight, then I think it's for a good reason, that they believe that they're going to have the significant upper hand. Like, I think Adam Azim is one of those guys as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so funny. Perfect segue, right? Adam Azim, he just beat Kurt Scobie. Good win, man. I can't take that from him. He looks sharp. He's only 23 as well. He's young. But then he calls out Devin Haney. Isn't that odd, chat? He called out Devin Haney. He didn't say he wants the winner of Brian Norman and Devin Haney. He said he wants Devin Haney. He even went as far as to say that he told his opponent that he'll beat Devin Haney. And then another guy called out Devin Haney was Conor Benn. He said he's going to go back down to 147. He primarily aimed for Barrios, but he also said he wants Devin Haney. He didn't say he wants the winner of Devin Haney and Brian Norman. He said he wants Devin Haney. And I don't understand, why wouldn't you want Brian Norman? He was a champion, right? And then Richardson Hitchens is another one. He wants Devin Haney. He did say that he wants the winner of Haney and Norman, but he focused on Devin Haney. I just think it's just funny. It's like, if you got, like, do you guys want to fight Devin Haney, or do you guys want to fight for a belt or a challenge? I'm not saying Devin Haney's not a challenge, because he is a challenge. I think Devin Haney beats Adam Azim. I think Devin Haney would beat Conor Benn. I think that's going to be a good fight. And I think Devin Haney would beat Richardson Hitchens too. I think that'd be a good fight as well. But I just don't understand why they're focusing on Devin Haney. And to me, it just kind of shows, gives you a little peek into the bigger picture, is that a lot of people don't really want that smoke with Brian Norman. You know what I'm saying? Even as a belt holder, you see what I'm saying? Because that guy, they know what he's coming with. And even if you lose to Devin Haney, you won't get knocked the freak out. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think that people are anticipating. They don't want to end up sleep on the canvas, you know what I'm saying, like Jin Sasaki or something like that. So that's what I'm thinking. And anyway, but I don't know. I think that's kind of funny. Shout out to One Round with George, man. George Jakovic. That's him right here, right above Abbas Barao, the WBA 154 pound champion, the Togolese German champion, man. You know what I'm saying? They both appeared on the show for interviews, man. Shout out to One Round with George. He said, brother, boxing does itself such a disservice by having interim champions. Oh my goodness. Talk to him. He said, so foul that you could just be named the champ without having that special moment. Boxing, politics suck.
Yeah.
That's a fact. He said, regarding the interim champs, not the fighter's fault. It's boxing's fault. Facts.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's exactly all I'm saying. Like, it's like look at the WBA right now in the heavyweight division, George, right? They have the full champion, Oleksandr Usyk, Ukrainian Oleksandr Usyk. Then they have the IBF. They have the WBA full champion, Oleksandr Usyk. They have the WBA interim champion, Fabio Wardley, and they have the WBA regular champion, Kubrat Pulev. Like, come on, bro. Like, what do we? And it's not their fault. Because if they don't want these guys to be champions, they have no problem stripping them. Look how fast they stripped Dmitry Bivol to elevate David Benavidez for the WBC. I can't get mad at David Benavidez that President Mauricio Solomon did that. It's not his fault. See what I'm saying? It's not Brian Norman's fault that the undisputed champion Terrence Crawford moved up, and then President Gustavo Oliveira for the WBO decided to elevate Brian Norman once he beat the interim champion for the WBO, Giovanni Santillan, at the time. It's not Brian Norman's fault. All he did was win a fight. You see what I'm saying? Even with Barrios, all he did was win a fight that put him in the position to get elevated. Same with Rolly Romero. All he did was beat Ryan Garcia. It's not Rolly's fault that the WBA anticipated that Ryan Garcia would win, and they wanted to take advantage of the financial gain that Ryan Garcia could provide because he's so popular. It's not Rolly Romero's fault that he upset the apple cart and they had to elevate him because he won the belt that fight did not deserve to be up for. I can't knock Rolly Romero for going in and winning. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, we got to realize that we are bad. Instead of being up, we have to direct our energy in the appropriate places. We have to redirect our energy in the correct place. You know what I'm saying? We're mad at the fighters for getting elevated or emailed or interns or regulars. They're not the ones that make that decision. That's the sanctioning bodies, man. That's the sanctioning bodies being greedy. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I agree with One Round with George 1,000%. Shout out to Z Pacino. He said they need a dance partner for a money fight. Come on now. They ain't trying to risk that. Oh, they want that bag. And I'm gonna be honest, too. I'm not really mad. I'm not too mad at it, but it's like, bro, have some dignity, bro. Have some pride, bro. You really look like you don't want no parts of Brian Norman. And even with Conor Benn, right? He called out Mario Barrios. And, you know, Conor Benn is a cheater, right? You know, I don't really rock with the cheaters like that. You know, he was on them eggs, that gosh dang egg salad. That boy was on them gosh dang egg drops.
We do not let people who are on the juice discuss real athletes. That's all.
So I don't rock with the cheaters like that. But I got to say that Conor Benn, he had a good performance against Chris Eubank. But I can't help but notice that he called out Devin Haney and he called out Mario Barrios. My brother, last time I checked, you were ranked highly in the IBF sanctioning body. And last time I checked, isn't Lewis Crocker Irish? The IBF champion for 147? So I'm not saying that you can't travel. Obviously, you could travel to fight where you want, but wouldn't it be easier to get a fight with a guy that's in your region? That's in the UK area? In Lewis Crocker, if you really want a belt? But you want to fight Mario Barrios? And Ryan Garcia, like he named Ryan Garcia, who doesn't have a belt. He named Mario Barrios, who has a belt, but we know what happened with him. He just fought the 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, and he looked terrible. You know what I'm saying? But he on his way to a draw. Shout out to Mario Barrios. I personally thought he did enough to win, but he still should have did more to beat a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. And then he also called out, who else he called out? Devin Haney, and there was one more person he called out. But anyway, it wasn't Brian Norman. It wasn't Lewis Crocker. And shout out to Lewis Crocker. Even he said, hey, why didn't Conor Benn call me out? He said, I'd love to fight Conor Benn. And I'm a title holder. So it just goes to show you that their priorities, man. And like I said, Conor Benn, he deserves his moment. He won that fight. He avenged his loss. In fact, he finally put the Benns in the win column in the family feud between the Eubanks and the Benns. So I don't blame him for being happy, but it kind of goes to show you that this guy, like, what do you really want out of the sport? Like, are you really there to compete, or you just looking for, like Z Pacino said, looking for that bag without actually taking risks? And yeah, I don't know. I think Rolly was the other guy he called. He might have called out the WBA champion Rolly. He might have called out, Conor Benn may have called out Rolly, Mario Barrios, Lewis Crocker. Not Lewis Crocker. Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia, Mario Barrios, and Devin Haney. Like, bro, why wouldn't you call out Lewis Crocker? Why wouldn't you call out Brian Norman, or even just say you want the winner of Brian Norman and Devin Haney. It looks kind of weird, man. Looks kind of weird, man. But yeah, shout out to Ramon. He said the Rolly Garcia fight is an example of an overachiever defeated an underachiever. I will say this too, man. I thought it was kind of disrespectful for people to, not saying I disagree with you, Ramon, but I thought it was kind of disrespectful for people to look at Ryan Garcia as the favorite. It's like, last time I checked, only one of those guys were a champion, and it wasn't Ryan Garcia. Right? Rolly Romero was the one that was a former champion. Right? So, Rolly Romero, I know that he looked bad against Usyk Pitbull Cruz, but that was a title fight. Ryan Garcia has never been a champion. Rolly Romero looked bad, or I don't even think he really looked bad. He just got stopped by Gervonta Tank Davis, but that was a title fight. Ryan Garcia was never a title holder. And then plus, people thought that while Rolly Romero got knocked out by Tank, a lot of people accused Ryan Garcia of quitting against Tank. So there's only one guy that performed well at the highest level, and that was not Ryan Garcia, it was Rolly Romero. So, I said Rolly Romero would win, but I was still nervous because, yeah, Rolly Romero does show us some bad fights, right? Some bad performances, some bad representations of himself when he fights the old man Ishmael Barroso and when he fights Usyk Pitbull Cruz and stuff like that. But if the fight with Ryan Garcia and Usyk Pitbull Cruz could have happened at 140, I would have picked Usyk Pitbull Cruz to win. I wouldn't pick Ryan Garcia. So what I'm saying is that outside of the Ishmael Barroso, really, I don't really see. Rolly Romero, he really should have been the favorite in actuality, you know what I'm saying? Because Ryan Garcia, I'm gonna show you how crazy the boxing world is, because despite Ryan Garcia being a racist cheater, right? He was the least accomplished in the boxing ring. Let's keep it boxing. He's the least accomplished on that Times Square card, right? It was Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia was the A side. Rolly Romero was the champion. Ryan Garcia was never a champion. Devin Haney and Jose Carlos Ramirez was on the undercard, was on the co-main. Devin Haney was the youngest undisputed champion, or is the youngest undisputed champion in the 4-belt era on the male side. The youngest undisputed champion in all of boxing is Gabriela Fundora. You know what I'm saying? One time for the ladies. But, you know what I'm saying? So Devin Haney was an undisputed champion. And then his opponent, Jose Carlos Ramirez, was an Olympian and a former unified champion. So Ryan Garcia is not as accomplished as them. And then Teofimo Lopez is a WBO champion, and he was a former champion too. And he was fighting Arnold Barbosa, who was at least the mandatory. Barbosa, I think the highest he's been is an interim champion. He's never been a full champion, but he was an interim champion, if I'm not mistaken. And he was still the #1 mandatory. So he was literally the least accomplished on the card, but everybody was cool with him being the headliner. You know what I'm saying? It's like because of popularity, bro. And I just think that's corny, man. Disrespectful to the sport. And that's why we are in places where we're at now. You know what I'm saying? With us about to get Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua and some of the biggest boxing fights. Some of the biggest fights in boxing not even really being boxing. You know what I'm saying? Some of the biggest fights in boxing aren't even really boxing. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. Shout out to Unity in the building, man. My brother Kendrick in the building. Big member in the building. He said, both back. Come on, man. Come on, Z. You know what it is. Both matchroom fighters, too. Exactly. Both matchroom fighters, too, as far as Ben goes, right? Ben and your boy, Lewis Crocker. Exactly. You picking up what I'm putting down. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tay. Tay says, Fabio Wardley a champion. Fabio Wardley is a WBO champion, man. He's a WBO champion because Oleksandr Usyk just vacated. And, yeah, he's a WBO champion, man. Shout out to Fabio Wardley, man. You know, it is what it is, man. Hey, Fabio Wardley. A lot of people are going to be mad. A lot of people are going to disrespect him and call him an elevated champ or email champ. But like I said, I can't be mad at the fighter, man. The only thing Fabio Wardley did wrong was beat Joseph Parker. You see what I'm saying? And if he would have lost, Joseph Parker would have been elevated. So I think we got to try to normalize. It's going to be hard because there's a lot of boxing groupies out there that don't pay attention to the actual sport. They don't have a bone or an ounce of reasoning in their body. They're not capable of reasoning. But so it's going to be hard to convince people that it's not Fabio Wardley's fault that he's elevated, but it is what it is, man. We're going to say it over here. Just like we say, it's not Benavidez's fault that he was elevated. It's not Brian Norman's fault he's elevated. It's not Rolly's fault he was elevated. I could go on and on and on. It's really not the fighter's fault, but it does suck because we will question them And then I think it was my guy George the Last Patriot, George the Last Dragonborn. He was like, you know, it's up to them, or was it High Rollers? It might have been all casino High Rollers. We shouldn't hate on the fighters, but it is up to them to prove that they deserve it. So now David Benavidez, his first defense as a WBC champion, he has to prove it. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to see. Brian Norman proved it against Derek Quavaz and Jin Sasaki. Now he has to prove it again against Devin Haney. Major step up. I think that's a 50-50 fight. I'm leaning towards Norman, but hey, Devin Haney could potentially outbox him, and you never know, man. Hey, he dropped Regis Prograis, so you come in there slipping, you might get clipped. You know what I'm saying? So you never know how it goes, but I don't think that Brian Norman has to knock out Devin Haney to win either. I think that people are sleeping on the possibilities of boxing. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I think the most common outcome the most common path to victory, if we had to guess, you know, the most logic by consensus of what we've seen, we would think that if the fight ends by knockouts because Brian Norman won, and if we think that if the fight goes the distance and there's a unanimous decision winner, a lot of us would think that Devin Haney would win. So there's nothing wrong with thinking that, but I just want to be clear that that's not it's not outside the realm of possibility that Brian Norman could win a decision or Devin Haney could hurt him and stop him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he will, but Brian Norman is, you know, had some rough fights with Boca Chica and them. So, you know what I'm saying? It's boxing, man. We love boxing. A lot of people counted out Armando Resendez against one of my favorite fighters, Caleb Plant. And what happened? I think that was the upset of the year. You see what I'm saying? So you just never know, man. You never know. All it takes is one blow. You feel me? Sent from Pet. What's good, bro? He said if Backrod loses it, it's over for him. Already can't get opponents and high risk. Yeah, man. If Backrod, yeah, that'd be tough for Backrod against Josh Kelly. But I that's gonna be a good fight, man. Boxer versus a boxer puncher. V says Debo Dev is coming, man. One time for the members. Shout out to you, V. Big member in the building. Once again, man, enjoy those emotes if you are a member. And if you are a member because you were gifted a membership by one of the dope people in the chat, consider renewing that membership upon expiration, man, because we're trying to go and we're trying to grow. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? All it takes is $3 above. That's what we start at. You know what I'm saying? Join the Boxing Talk family and keep us going and growing, man. The best boxing channel out there. You feel me? You know, they don't know yet, but they will. They don't know yet, but they will. You feel me? We got to get people to call in too. I'm about to open up the phone lines if anybody wants to call in. A shout out. Oh, but I also want to talk about this too. I want to talk about this. Oh, shout out to Oscar. Before I talk about this, let's talk about the trader of the year. Shout out to Oscar. He said, how's the trader of the year looking, Doc? Because I'm about to transition to another topic. So let's talk about this. I want people to call in on this topic. So actually, the trainer of the year, right? It's interesting, man. I think it's interesting that the trainer of the year conversation has become less interesting, right? It's become less contentious. And the reason why I say that is because, you know me, man, I'm always say it loudly. I think the three best trainers are Bo Mack, Robert Garcia, and Bo Zienis, right? Because they have a pretty good stable, and then, you know, they all have accomplished fighters, and they just do very well, man. When you see Bo Mack in somebody's corner, when you see Robert Garcia, when you see Bozy, you be like, okay, bet, man, this fighter must be, he has something. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of other great trainers, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not saying they're the only three good ones, but to me, those are the top three. But you have other great trainers like Bob Santos, who I had the pleasure of interviewing and stuff like that. You got Coach Calvin Ford. You got so many. You got Ray Noso. You feel me? You got Andy Lee, and you know, there's so many. But Ben Davison. But for me, the top three right now are undoubtedly Bo Zienis, Robert Garcia, and Bo Mack, right? But I think that the competition has just went down to two. And those two I'm thinking is Bozy and Robert Garcia. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, I know due to the weight stipulations and the circumstances around the fight, Chris Eubank Jr. may have been far from 100%. But we have to judge the performance, man. And once you're in the ring, you agree to the terms. I have to judge the performance. And Chris Eubank, it may not have been Bo Mack's fault, but Chris Eubank did not look good. He got washed. And you know me, I kept it funky like I always do. I thought Robert Garcia looked bad when Rayo got washed, right? Rayo got washed by Gary Anton Russell, right? And he was trained by Robert Garcia. And Jose Carlos Ramirez got washed by Devin Haney. Whether you like the fight or not, he got washed, right? So then you look bad. But we have to consider what else they have done good. You know, Bomac just had a spectacular win with Terrence Bud Crawford moving up and beating the face of boxing, my favorite fighter, Saul Canelo Alvarez, aka Cinnamon. I got to give Bomac a lot of credit for that. You see what I'm saying? He got to get a lot of credit for that. That was a fire victory. But was that enough to overshadow what Robert Garcia is doing? Right? He has Raymond Murataya, who just beat Zaur Abduliev to become the for the vacant IBF 135-pound title. So that's a champion. He just had Virgil Ortiz completely destroy, obliterate, demolish Erickson Lubin in 2 rounds. That's a Robert Garcia fighter. We just saw Robert Garcia with Bam Rodriguez, right? He just beat the South African, not just, but you get what I'm saying, earlier this year, he beat the undefeated South African Fumaleli Cafu to unify the belts. And if he gets a win over the Argentine Puma Martinez with Bam Rodriguez, that's another thing that's spectacular. You see what I'm saying? So those are good wins. I'm sure he has more, but off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking of, right? So I'm sure I'm missing some people too. But those are great victories, right? And now let's go look at Bozy, right? Bozy Ennis, he has his son, Jerron Boots Ennis, who just obliterated Weizma Lima for his debut at a new weight class, in addition to being unified champion at welterweight and a Ring Magazine lineal champion, right? He had the WBA, IBF, and Ring Magazine champion at 140 belts at 147. Then he moved up and destroyed Weizma Lima, who never been stopped before, and did it in 1 round, right? So Bozy has Boots, his son. And then Bozy also has Andy Cruz, who's going to fight Raymond Murataya. So we're actually going to get Robert Garcia versus Raymond Murataya next year, good Lord willing. But he has Andy Cruz, who's a highly covered and has high expectations contender, right? He's a highly touted contender. So he has Andy Cruz. He also has Stephen Coolboy Fulton, who just became a champion at 126 at another weight class. And if he goes on and beats Usyk Foster in another weight class of 130, come on, man. Doing very good. And then in addition to that, he also has not Usyk Foster. Stephen Fulton's fight Usyk Foster. He also has O'Shea Jones, the IBF 154 junior middleweight champion for the women. You know what I'm saying? So 1 time for the ladies. So he's doing it. He's doing it for the men and the women. You know what I'm saying? So you got to show Bozy Ennis some love. I'm thinking like, Lindolfo Delgado looked bad. Shout out to V. Like Lindolfo Delgado, a lot of people thought he lost. I thought he won. I thought he won more rounds, but he did get dropped in that 12th and final round. I wouldn't have been mad if it would have went the other way, but I thought I was fine with the decision, but he definitely didn't look good. But he does have a lot of people in the stable. You see what I'm saying? So whenever you see Bozy Ennis, and then not to mention Bozy Ennis just had Jack Catterall, right? Jack Catterall just beat Echo Esserman. I think Jack Catterall was helped out by the ref a little bit. You know what I'm saying? The ref needed to be investigated because that was crazy. I'm talking about Jack Catterall after the referee called a time in the fight. Jack Catterall let off an open gosh dang ultra combo and went. He had Echo Esserman looking like fight back.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up. Fight back, fight back.
So if I'm Echo Esserman in his camp, I would actually what's the word I'm looking for? I would appeal that fight because that was like, it's not even that. And what I'm gonna be honest, I don't blame Jack Catterall because the referee is there. Jack Catterall should not have done it, but the referee is there. It's his job to officiate, right? He's the one that's supposed to establish decorum in the ring between the fighters. He's supposed to establish order and call fouls, and it's up to his discretion to call things, right? After Echo Esserman got hit with 4 or 5 shots, right? A whole flurry of shots, an ultra killer instinct combo. The referee didn't even give Echo Esserman time to recover. He just called time in again. And then next thing you know, 10 seconds later, Echo Esserman's outside of the ring like B-Hop against Joe Smith Jr. So that ref was it John Latham, I believe his name is? That was a terrible job. But still, nonetheless, Jack Catterall looked good. And what was that? That was his debut with Bozy Ennis. So all this goes good for Bozy Ennis. But I would say that for me, the year's not over, right? But if Robert Garcia, if Puma Martinez wins to close out the year, man, I might have to lean towards Robert Garcia to repeat as trainer of the year, man. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to think about it. It's still, like I said, to me, it's a 2-man race right now. It's between Bozy Ennis and Robert Garcia. I don't think you can go wrong with either pick, but for me, I'm leaning towards Robert Garcia to repeat as trainer of the year, in my personal opinion. But you say, ain't nothing special to appeal. Nah, hell no, you tripping. There ain't no protect yourself. And it has nothing to do with protecting yourself. The dude should have got time. If you get hit with a low blow, if you get hit with an elbow, if you get hit with illegal blows, and the referee sees it, he saw it. He's supposed to call time. He's supposed to give the man extra time. When Usyk got hit with a low blow, the referee saw it and gave him all the time he needed in the world when Daniel Dubois hit him low. I'm not saying that, like I said, if Jack Catterall is not, it is something to appeal, because it's not about Jack Catterall. It's about the referee not doing right by the fighter. It's the referee's job. You know, it's just like with Rafael Espinosa, right? Shout out to Espinosa when he fought Robisi Ramirez. He was in the second fight. He was hitting him with all type of elbows like ludicrous. You know what I'm saying? He was throwing them bows. But I can't get mad at Espinosa. Granted, you hope that the fighter's not doing anything dirty, but if the referee allows it, the referee allows it. But I could say that that's the referee's fault, and Robisi Ramirez, he should have appealed it, just like Charlie Suarez. Charlie Suarez isn't appealing Emmanuel Navarrete. Charlie Suarez, who fought Emmanuel Navarrete, he's appealing the ref and the judges and the verdict that was called. So absolutely, I think Echo Esper. I don't think he would. And to your point though, Kendrick, I don't think he would win it. But you got to understand too, when you appeal something like Usyk Foster when he appealed Robson Conceição, you may not get the overturn, but you could get an immediate rematch, just like Charlie Suarez, right? Charlie Suarez he got the no contest and an immediate rematch, but it seems like they're not going to abide by it anyway, because somehow, some way, Emmanuel Navarrete for the WBO again is fighting Sugar Nunez for the IBF title. They're fighting a unification. I don't know how they just skipped Charlie Suarez, but I'm sure he's going to be compensated with some step-aside money or something of that nature. But anyway, the point of appealing it is to not even necessarily get overturn the decision, but it's to get an immediate rematch ordered. Similar what we saw with what's his name, Lomachenko. Remember, Lomachenko appealed the Devin Haney decision, but he was trying to get an overturn, which I don't know why he appealed it anyway. I thought it was a close fight, could have went either way. I personally scored it for Lomachenko, but it was a good fight, could have went either way. I'm not mad at Devin Haney winning because it could have went either way, but he appealed it and he didn't get an overturn, which is what he wanted. But he did get ordered a rematch. Lomachenko just didn't want it. A lot of people leave that out when they say, oh, Devin Haney, he should have lost to Lomachenko. Well, then if Lomachenko thought that he was robbed, why didn't he take the rematch that he could have had? He didn't want it. So was he really that confident that he could have beat Devin Haney again? I mean, because we saw Usyk Foster, right? Usyk Foster, he appealed it, and then he was awarded a rematch, and he took it. We don't talk about that, though, right? We don't talk about that. We just say, oh, Lomachenko was robbed by Devin Haney. And nah, he wasn't robbed by Devin Haney. You can say he's robbed by the judges, but that was a close fight. Could have went either way. Lomachenko appealed it. He was awarded a rematch. He denied it. He didn't want the rematch. Usyk Foster was robbed. We all saw that fight against Robson Conceição. He was awarded the rematch, and he took it because he had confidence in himself. So I think that, so yeah, absolutely. If I'm Echo Esper, I would appeal it for sure so I could get that rematch. Nah, hell no. I don't know what Kendrick talking about. That ain't no protect yourself at all times. The referee literally broke him up. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. That's crazy. It'll be different if the referee didn't call break. The referee literally called break. He could have lost a point, to be honest. You know, he could have lost a point. I'm not advocating that he should have lost a point, but ain't no protect yourself at all times. The referee called time, man. So we'll see how that goes though, man. Yeah, if I'm what's his name? If I'm Echo Esserman, yeah, I would definitely appeal that, bro. He said, Tay said it's Bob. Did it order it? WBO ain't going. Hey, WBO, what Bob orders. That's a fact. But yeah, nah, but I think that but yeah, so shout out to Oscar, man. I'm not mad at anybody picking Bozy in this, but me personally, I would go with Robert Garcia. I think Robert Garcia, you know, and it might be exposure too, or popularity, I would say, because let's face it, right? He has the bigger stars too, right? Boots is a star. You know, Boots and Virgil, that's a wash. I would even say, no disrespect to Boots, but I think I think we could all agree that Virgil is more popular than Boots slightly, right? So if you want to look at it like that, Boots is more accomplished, but Virgil's more popular. So hopefully the writers will factor in the accomplishments that Boots had, though. But you know, just from the people, they may not factor in, because you know they say Stanionis was a nobody, even though he was an undefeated Lithuanian WBA champion. They say he's a nobody, so they might look at Virgil Ortiz beating Erickson Lubin and Madrimov and Boychuk maybe rank him higher than Boots. I mean, he is ranked #1 in the Ring magazine at 154, even though he doesn't have a title, which is crazy to be right. He's ranked higher than the WBC champion Sebastian Fedora. He's ranked higher than the IBF champion Bakram Murtazaliev. He's ranked higher than the WBO champion Xander Zayas. And he's ranked higher than the WBA champion Abbas Barao, and he has no belt. But whatever, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But anyway, so when you think about it like that, Bam Rodriguez, a lot of people say that he should be pound for pound. I see him as high as pound for pound #2, which I like Bam Rodriguez, but pump the brakes a little bit, like my brother Irony would say, pump the brakes. But if you think about that stuff, how highly they rank Bam Rodriguez, how highly the Ring magazine is ranking Virgil Ortiz, Raymond Muay is a champion. I could see Robert Garcia edging him out. Like I said, for me, he's edging him out, but not really for the rankings thing. It's just for the fact that, you know, he's had I'm not gonna say he had a better year, but he had a louder year. You know, does that make sense? You know, I'm not gonna say he has I think they pretty much have an even year as far as how their fighters have performed. But I think that Robert Garcia's fighters have stood out more, whether that's right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm leaning towards Robert Garcia. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He said, shout out to Thomas. He said, nah. He said, nah, I'm not going. Buddy, clumsy. No, bro. Go watch that again. Matter of fact, go watch the video I dropped, bro. You're tripping, bro. I even slow it. I don't know if I slow it down. I think I slow it down. But Joaquin in the building. What's good, brethren? Go back and watch that, bro. You tripping. And I even showed too about Jack Catterall too would get his face wiped down. That was also when time was called, and that's also illegal because so I was right about that too. I put that in the last video though. But I mean, like I said, I'm not knocking anybody per se that thinks that he should protect himself at all times, because you should. But it was a break, and he was getting hit already, bro. He was getting, bro, go back, bro. The man Echo Esman was getting hit. And then they I don't know if it was a head clash or what it was. Then the referee went in there, called break, and then Jack Carroll, bing, 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 bing. And he fell on the ground and got knocked down again. Bro, you get a count when you get knocked down. Legally. When you legally get knocked down, you get a count. The man got knocked down illegally and didn't get a count, bro. Stop it, bro. Yeah, you tripping. You tripping, bro. You tripping, bro. He should have got a full 3 minutes if he wanted to. I'm tripping, bro. Sean, he said, Remo says, which is more impressive, somebody that got knocked out before or somebody never got knocked out? Well, in regards to, Lubin and Lima. Okay, I see what you're saying, Ramon. I think that it's more impressive to knock out somebody that's never been knocked out. So let's be fair, right? That's a great point, Ramon. So I think it's more impressive to knock out somebody who's never been stopped, but we have to be honest too. Lima is not the caliber of fighter that Erickson Lubin is. Even if they're the same right now, we got to also remember that Erickson Lubin just beat an undefeated Ardra Holmes prior to his fight with Virgil Ortiz. He just won a title eliminator with Bakram Murtazaliev. Thank God he didn't fight Bakram. Bakram might have put him through the ropes. he might have put him in the dirt for real. Talk about hurt. He might have been in the dirt messing with Bakram, but he did just beat an undefeated champion an undefeated contender, in Ardra Holmes. And then before that, he beat, controversial or not, he beat an undefeated Jesus Ramos. So it wasn't like, even if you want to say he was shot, I'm not saying you're saying that, but let's say some people are saying he's shot, right? So even if you're saying he's shot and he lost in one round before by Jermell Charlo, number one, that's Jermell Charlo, who went on and was was a former undisputed champion. So there's not too much shame in that. He lost to Sebastian Fedora, who is a current WBC champion right now. So I do have to objectively say that the win against Erickson Lubin is better, even though he got knocked out before and he got stopped. He got stopped by Fedora, TKO, and then he got knocked out in one round by Jermell Charlo. Erickson Lubin is still more impressive than Lima. So even with all those things considered, but I'm with you. I think Boots has had a better career. I think people sleep on that. I'm sorry. Boachuk, he got stopped before too, right? And that was a controversial fight between Virgil Ortiz and Boachuk. And Virgil Ortiz got dropped twice. I like Serhii Boachuk, but I think people overrated that victory, especially considering how controversial it was, because I actually had Boachuk winning, and I'm a fair scorer. But I had him winning slightly due to the 2 knockdowns. But we got to remember Boachuk, like you said, to your point, he got stopped by Brandon Adams, and then he fought Brandon Adams again and lost again. Right? And then he also fought Michael Fox. A lot of people thought that was controversial too for Serhii Boachuk. So I don't think that Serhii Boachuk, if Virgil Ortiz is what we think he is, I think that was an overrated victory over Boachuk. I think people overrated that. But like I said, my original statement initially was that people see his wins in a better light. Like he has a more popular, louder wins because people thought, look at Serhiy Boychuk as a contender. I think Serhiy Boychuk is a contender. Don't get me wrong. But I think it was a little exaggerated how good that win was. And then Madrimov, he beat Madrimov after Terrence Crawford did it. And they said Madrimov had bronchitis. He was sick or something like that. But once again, I can acknowledge that, but that's not Virgil Ortiz's fault. It's not your fault how you fight somebody. The shape that the person, it's not your fault for the shape of, it's not your responsibility or your concern when it comes to the shape that your opponent comes in the ring with. You see what I'm saying? Whether he comes in sick or injured, that's not your fault. You see what I'm saying? You can only fight who's in front of you. So that was a good win. I still think Madrimov is a contender. So I think that's a good win. I think he bounced back and potentially be a champion in 154. Depends on how he moves. But yeah, so Madrimov, Boychuk, and Erickson Lubin, that does look better than Lima, Stanionis, and who was this fight before that? Karen Chukazan. Because, like I said, once again, we're talking about the loudness of it, right? Nobody really knows Karen Chukazan like that. I respect Chukazan. I'm sure you do, the Ukrainian contender, right? I think Karen, I've said this already, I think Karen could become a 147-pound welterweight champion. But a lot of people don't even think about him. They make it seem like, oh, fighting Karen, oh, who is Karen? Karen's a nobody. If you watch Karen fight, I think that you would also agree that Karen could potentially be... Okay, put it like this. I like Barrios. If Karen fights Barrios, Karen would beat Barrios. If Karen fights Barrios tomorrow, he would be the WBC champion. If Karen fights Rolly, I like Rolly. I think Karen beats the WBA Rolly as well. So he would be the WBA champion. You see what I'm saying? But people will sleep and shit on Karen because they haven't heard of him. And then Montes Stanionis was an undefeated WBA champion. But people don't really hear about him either. So I really think, if you ask me, my honest opinion, Erickson Lubin is the bigger name. But I think Stanionis is qualitatively speaking, I think that's the best win out of Virgil Ortiz and Boots. So I'm with you. But once again, we got to factor in people. People know Erickson Lubin because of the big stage he's been on. People know Madrimov because he fought Bud and he was a champion. People know Boychuk. I don't know why people know Boychuk. Why do we know Boychuk? Boychuk, I guess what he did to Brian Mendoza, and Brian Mendoza also fought Sebastian Fedora. Why do we know Boychuk like that? I mean, not why do we know him? Obviously, we watch boxing, but I'm talking about like why is Boychuk so highly rated? I don't know. That's weird, right? Because we rate Boychuk highly, but nobody really talks about Brandon Adams, a guy who beat him twice. But anyway, I think Boychuk is a good fighter. You know, I'm not knocking. I'm just saying, like, it's just an inconsistency of boxing, man. So I agree. I think Boots has the best win and he's more accomplished, but people don't look at him like that. They look at him as a, you know what I'm saying, like he's it's nonsense, really. Because, you know, it's so funny that they compare Weizma Lima, like you said, to Erickson Lubin or Boychuk or Madrimov. It's like, no, Weizma Lima was Boots' debut at 154. Virgil Ortiz's debut was Frederick Lawson. His second fight was Thomas Delorme. Yeah, Virgil Ortiz beat Thomas Delorme in one round, but you know who also beat Thomas Delorme in one round? Before Virgil Ortiz? Jerron Boots Ennis. So Boots beat Thomas Delorme in one round before Virgil Ortiz did it. So we're comparing Boots' debut of Weizma Lima to what Virgil Ortiz is doing lately, and that's unfair. What's more accurate and more of a fair assessment and comparison would be to compare their debuts at the new weight class. And Weizma Lima, the IBO champion who only had one loss, like Ramon said, and he only had one loss, he was never stopped, and it was to Aaron McKenna, right? Aaron McKenna is the 160-pound middleweight contender. That's his only loss, and it wasn't by stoppage. And he's the IBO champion. That's a better debut than Frederick Lawson, who's been stopped multiple times before Virgil Ortiz did it, who was reportedly suffering from signs of brain aneurysm before Virgil Ortiz beat him. And then his second fight at 154 was Thomas Delorme. He beat in one round. But Jerron Boots Ennis already beat Thomas Delorme in one round as well. Yeah, I'm like a boxing encyclopedia. I know I'm good. I know I'm good. I know. This is why I do what I do. You know what I'm saying? This is why you rock with your boy. Yeah. Who else is spitting out facts like this? What other boxing content creators spitting out facts like this? I'm talking about from the little guy to the big guy, from the commentators to the guys running a pie hole on Twitter. Shout out to my brother Oster in the building. What's good, brethren? Oster said Virgil is trash.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Nah, Virgil good, man. He doing something. He just not doing as much as they They make it seem, man. Yeah, Boots was unified at 147, and he was not only did he unify, he was also the Ring Magazine lineal champion at 147. So yeah, Virgil Ortiz's career right now is not as good as Boots, but the name recognition is better than Boots. You know what I'm saying? He has more guys that you can identify on his resume than Boots. So that is something that we have to factor in. Villa beating Speedy was way more impressive than Boachuk beat Mendoza. Shout out to Tay. And you know, it's another thing too, is like, you know, and I'm not trying to nitpick. I like Virgil Ortiz. He's a good fighter. You know, he needs to fight Boots though. But you know, I hear a lot of people talk about Meme Machine because Virgil fought him, right? But no one talks about David Avanesian, and Boots fought him, right? David Avanesian and Meme Machine Kavalauskas both lost to Bud. But we give I hear more people give Virgil credit for Kavalauskas than they do give Boots credit for Avanesian. And I'm not saying that you have to give them either one of them credit, but if you're going to give one credit for Meme Machine, then you should give the other one credit for Avanesian. And if you're not going to give him credit for Avanesian, then you shouldn't give him credit for Kavalauskas. In my personal opinion. You know what I'm saying? That's just me though. But yeah, man, I think Z Pacino, if you're still here, you asked me something early in the stream, man. Ask me again, bros. I asked you to remind me, please. We may have covered it already by now, but I wanted you to ask me again because it's something that you asked me that was interesting. I just forgot now because I had some other things to talk about. But yeah, if you type it in the chat, we will address it. Shout out to Oscar, man. Oscar said the same people will tell you Jennebeck's a monster. Come on now, Calzaghe a goat, but will tell you Boots and Fedora both ass. Facts.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of, hold on now, Oscar. You see what you just did? Shout out to Oscar. You talked about Calzaghe being a goat. That's my final topic, and this is when I'm gonna open up the phone lines after this one. Don't forget to check out the memberships. You know what I'm saying? Hold it down for your boy in the memberships. Shout out to all the members already. Also consider hitting the Cash App and the Super Chats, man. Show some love. Put some graffiti on the chat walls. You know what I'm talking about? Let's keep going and growing, man. We are a full-time content creator in this box of space, man. Keep us going and growing. You got to support. You feel me? And I appreciate the love that I already get. You see what I'm saying? Thank you. Also, too, hey, the next episode, the next issue number 2 of Doc's Corners boxing newsletter drops on Wednesday at 12 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So if you enjoy real boxing talk, check it out. You feel me? No gimmicks, no nonsense, no fanboy, groupie, girl, boy stuff. It's all real boxing talk. You know what I'm saying? So check it out. Check it out. The new issue drops Wednesday at 12 p.m. We are already finished writing it and everything, boy. You're going to enjoy this issue. I know it. So shout out to the ones that rocked with the first issue. Appreciate it. Check it out, man. Your boy writing these newsletters too, man, in these journals. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we taking over the boxing game, man. Boxing Talk family, stand up, man. BTF rise up, man. I appreciate y'all, man. We are taking over the boxing space. I'm telling you, bro. Hey, slowly but surely. You know what I'm saying? We on their head top. We on their head top. We on their head top, man. Taking over the space, man. Boxing Talk family, we going crazy. We just hit 4,000 subscribers. We just hit 1 million views. Come on, man. Hey, small little steps. You feel me? It's nothing to the bigger goal, but we got to be thankful, man. That's when God bless you more. Sometimes we get frustrated. I get frustrated. I'm human, but just got to keep going, man. God is good. You feel me? But yeah, man. Hey. Unity said, "Oh Lord, I know." Hey, Kendrick, bro, I know, bro. You got to save me, bro. You got to save me from irony, bro. But look, check this out, man. I want to show you. Somebody chimed in on the Canelo. Somebody chimed in on the Canelo Calzaghe debate, bro. Hey, chat. Cinnamon has received an unexpected ally. I read this chat because you know I read everything. I look and I read and I watch everything. That's why I do what I do. You feel me? I'm always looking for ways to get better and all this stuff. Paulie Malignaggi has chimed in on the Cinnamon versus Joe Blow debate, right? It stirs the pot even further. Now we know, I'm going to give you a little background, right? Paulie Malignaggi, aka the Magic Man. I like Paulie Malignaggi as a fighter, not so much as a commentator or a pundit, because I feel like he personalizes things too much and gets too emotional. He's good, but when it comes to critiquing Canelo and Gervonta Tank Davis, it's like he self-destructs. Like he makes it seem like Canelo and Tank haven't done anything in their career. I'm not saying that you can't expect more of them. That's cool, but to act like they haven't done anything to diminish their value, to tear them down, I think is a little too much. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a champion and be to the caliber level of, especially of Cinnamon, be undisputed and not fight anybody. I wanted to fight David Benavidez. I wanted past tense. I wanted him to fight David Benavidez as well, but that's one guy. But I say that to say that Paulie Malignaggi, he said that Gervonta Tank Davis was fighting guys. He said Canelo and Gervonta Tank Davis were fighting guys that are asking for change at run lights. So basically, say they fight bums. So I'm just trying to paint the picture for you, right? So Paulie Malignaggi is ridiculously critical of Cinnamon, and look what he says here. Even with that, look what Paulie Malignaggi said. Paulie Malignaggi, Joe Calzaghe's. Let's just read the whole thing. Joe Calzaghe's belief that Canelo Alvarez is not an all-time great has gone viral on social media. And now veteran Alvarez, this man called him a veteran Alvarez critic. If your alias is a veteran Alvarez critic, that's how you know that boy's a hater. He said, and now veteran Alvarez critic Paulie Malignaggi is taking it a step further. So I was reading this, I was like, oh boy, what this man about to say. On Friday's episode of Pro Box TV's Boxing Scene Today, analyst and former welterweight champion Malignaggi said he would pick 2014 Hall of Famer Calzaghe over Alvarez if they ever met in their primes. He said, I'll read it again. He would pick Calzaghe to beat Alvarez if they ever fought in their primes. That's cool. That's not the question though, chat. What's the question? The question was Calzaghe and Canelo. Calzaghe questioning Canelo's all-time great status, because Calzaghe said Canelo is not an all-time great, right? So Paulie Malignaggi, of course, you know, Paulie Malignaggi, right in Paulie Malignaggi form as a veteran Canelo critic, he said that he would pick Calzaghe to beat Canelo. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. That's what we expect from him, right? But what we didn't expect is this. Canelo's resume is better than Calzaghe's. That's it. Debate is over, bro. Debate is over. Debate is over, bro. Even Paulie Malignaggi had to concede. Even though he picks Calzaghe to beat Canelo, he had to concede that Canelo's resume is better than Calzaghe's. This is the biggest Canelo hater on earth. On the surfaces of the earthaces. There's no bigger detractor of Canelo than Paulie Malignaggi. Can y'all all agree? We could all agree. This man said Canelo's resume is better. That hurt him to say it. That hurt him so much that he had to follow up with saying, having said that, I don't think Calzaghe loses to Canelo. That wasn't the question, brother. The question wasn't, will Calzaghe beat Canelo? That's fine. That's opinionated. I don't care if somebody thinks Calzaghe could beat Canelo. That's perfectly fine. But I do have a problem with somebody with the resume of Calzaghe criticizing the resume of somebody of Canelo's cloth. That's criminal. Calzaghe his resume does not even compare to Cinnamon's resume. And even Paulie Malignaggi, even though it hurt his soul, he had to admit. Now, I'm not saying because Paulie Malignaggi said that means that he's right. He could still be wrong, but it's just common sense, right? Calzaghe was saying that Canelo lost all of his big fights. Canelo has 67 fights, or 68. 67, right? No, 68. So you're telling me out of 68 fights, he only had 3 big ones? Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol, and Terrence Bud Crawford? Are you stupid? So you're telling me Austin No Doubt Trout wasn't a big fight? You're telling me that Miguel Cotto wasn't a big fight? Puerto Rico versus Mexico? You're telling me Sugar Shane Mosley wasn't a big fight? I know Sugar Shane was past his prime, but you know who else was past their prime? Roy Jones Jr. when Calzaghe fought him. Bernard Hopkins when Calzaghe fought him. Chris Eubank when Calzaghe fought him. You feel me? You're telling me that the undefeated Caleb Plant to determine who would get the first ever undisputed in the 168-pound super middleweight division, that wasn't a big time fight? You telling me Billy Joe Saunders wasn't a big fight? So in your head, you're saying that he lost all his big fights because you're only considering the fights that he lost as big fights. You're dumb if you think that he had no other big fights. You don't have to like Canelo, but let's not lie. I think Calzaghe's an all-time great, but I'll be a liar if I say that he has a better resume than Canelo. If Canelo's not an all-time great, you bet your bottom dollar Calzaghe's not an all-time great. Because for the same reason that people like Calzaghe, because he's 46-0, he's undefeated. That's the same reason they hate Floyd Mayweather. They say because he's 50-0 and he was protected. No, Floyd Mayweather, he defended his O. Joe Calzaghe protected his. Oh, there's a difference. Calzaghe, his best wins, like I said, was a 43-year-old B-Hop. Not saying B-Hop was washed. B-Hop was still good, but he was good because he's an all-time great. He wasn't in his prime at 40. Nobody's in their prime at 43. Not Tom Brady, not LeBron, not B-Hop. LeBron's still in the NBA, but he was better when he was in Miami. He was better when he was in Cleveland, but he's an all-time great. He's so good that he could still hang with the other good guys. B-Hop wasn't trash when he was 43, but he wasn't getting better. He wasn't improving. He wasn't in his prime. You know who else wasn't improving? Roy Jones. He was 40 when Calzaghe fought him. You know who else wasn't improving? Chris Eubank. When Chris Eubank lost to Calzaghe, Chris Eubank fought 2 more times, and he lost both of them. And then what did he do after that? He retired. Calzaghe didn't fight Andre Ward. Calzaghe didn't fight Jermaine Taylor, a former undisputed champion at 160. Calzaghe didn't fight Carl Froch. In fact, he didn't even participate in the Super 6 tournament. He didn't participate in the Super 6 tournament, nor did he fight the winner. Nor did he even fight Andre Durrell, who was in the Super 6 tournament. His next best win after an old Roy Jones, after an old B-Hop, after an old Eubank, his next best win is Mikkel Kessler or Jeff Lefthook Lacey. Those are good fighters, but they're not great. So if Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo wasn't a big fight, you bet your bottom dollar Calzaghe and Mikkel Kessler was not a big fight. If Canelo and Miguel Cotto wasn't a big fight, Calzaghe and Jeff Lacey wasn't a big fight. If Canelo and Caleb Plant wasn't a big fight, Calzaghe and Saki Albika wasn't a big fight. Calzaghe and Peter Manfredo wasn't a big fight. No disrespect to those gentlemen, they're good, but the only good guy that we think about that comes off a contender, the show that Saki Albika, the show that Alfonso Gomez, the show that Peter Manfredo, the show that K9 Cornelius Bundridge, the show that Grady Brewer are from, if you're not Sergio Mora, I'm sorry, if you're on the contender, we don't consider you that good, right? The only guy that we consider really good off a contender is Sergio Mora. So if Canelo fighting Danny Jacobs is not a big fight, then there's no fights that Calzaghe had were big besides B-Hop and Roy Jones. Oh, but don't take my word for it, because guess who says it? Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie Malignaggi says, stylistically, Calzaghe being a left-handed busy guy who never stops throwing, people call me a Canelo hater, but head-to-head, Calzaghe wins. But let's keep it going, right? Let's keep it going, right? Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Paulie Malignaggi also says a rapid pace is like kryptonite versus Canelo. And while criticizing Canelo's resume is harsh by Calzaghe, Calzaghe shuts him out almost if they fight in their primes. Cool. He's still saying that Calzaghe beats Canelo in their primes. Cool. But this is what he also says too. Malignaggi admits Calzaghe lacked 4-division champion Alvarez's resume depth. Let me read that again. Calzaghe lacked the 4-division champ Saul Canelo Alvarez, aka Cinnamon's, resume's depth. He said, which includes going 2-0-1 versus Golovkin, which is also not a big fight, according to Calzaghe. Canelo versus Triple G is not a big fight either. Those weren't big fights. He said that Canelo going 2-0-1 against Golovkin, defeating Erislandy Lara, defeating Sergey Kovalev, another big fight, when he moved up to light heavyweight, and Miguel Cotto, and fighting Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Dimitri Bivol, and Terrence Crawford. He said Hopkins and Jones were past their prime. Game over. Hey, chat. Where's Lil Flip when you need him? Where's Lil Flip when you need him? Go, somebody play the game over. Flip. Game over, man. He said Hopkins and Jones were past their prime. Roy was just a name. Canelo lost his biggest fights, but had a great career. That's it, bro. The Calzaghe statement was so blasphemous, the biggest Canelo hater couldn't even get on that boat. He couldn't even get on that boat with you. He said, oh no, I got to draw the line now. Calzaghe, you tripping. Yeah, bro, I'm just saying, just be respectful, bro. Calzaghe, you may not like Canelo, but let's be real. Calzaghe may have beat Canelo, but I can guarantee you this. Just going off of history, Calzaghe would not have even fought Canelo. Tell me I'm lying. Rick Timms in the building. Oster, tell me I'm lying. Kendrick, tell me I'm lying. Top Dog, tell me I'm lying. Given the history of Joe Calzaghe, Somebody could say Kawasaki could be. I'm not mad at that. These are two Hall of Fame all-time greats. But in my personal opinion, history shows that Kawasaki, he could have beat Canelo maybe, but he probably would not have even fought Canelo. He probably would not have, because he didn't fight Jermaine Taylor. He didn't fight Andre Durrell. He didn't fight Andre Ward. How you not fight two Andres? You ain't fight Andre Ward. You ain't fight Andre Durrell. Hell, I don't even think you would have fought Andre 3000. They fight no Andres, bro. You ain't fight Andre Durrell, Andre Ward, Andre 3000. Who you wanted to fight, bro? I know who you did want to fight. You wanted to fight a 43-year-old B-Hop. Y'all came up, and y'all could have fought each other for a long time ago. You could have fought Roy Jones a long time ago. So who you would have fought, bro? So I'm not going. I mean, I'm not, like I said, Joe Kawasaki is 46-0, but he protected that. Oh, he didn't defend that. Oh, you could say Floyd Mayweather's 50-0. We give him a lot of slack. You know what I'm saying? But Floyd Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya. That was a risky fight. He fought the late great Diego Corrales. That was a risky fight. He fought Zab Judah. That's a risky fight. He fought the late great Arturo Gotti. A lot of people had Gotti in that fight, so that was risky. He fought the late great Ricky Hatton, who was undefeated at the time. That was a risky fight. He fought Manny Pacquiao, risky fight. He fought, come on now. Do I need to keep going? Or can I stop? Can I stop? He fought Sugar Shea Mosley. Can I stop? He fought Jose Luis Castillo. Can I stop? He fought Maidana again after they said there was a risky fight the first time. Can I stop? I guarantee you I named more people on Joe Kawasaki's resume than Paulie Malignaggi could. If you notice in this whole article, the only people that he mentioned, that Paulie Malignaggi mentioned that Kawasaki fought was Roy Jones and B-Hop. You think that's a coincidence? I could probably name more people. I probably name more people in this little segment than anybody in the history of Joe Kawasaki's resume when discussing it have named. Exactly. That tells you something right there. Without referencing BoxRec, I guarantee you could have named 6 people out of the 46 that Joe Kawasaki fought. You could have named 6 people out of the 46. You telling me you have just be respectful, bro. I think I'm gonna be honest. I think he's bad because you know what? Canelo doesn't have a good resume, but didn't Joe Kawasaki fight in the super middleweight division, 168? If you have such a better resume, how come Canelo was able to be the first undisputed champion at 168? How come you didn't accomplish that? Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so it's like, just be respectful, bro. Canelo, you may not like Canelo. Yeah, Canelo lost to Floyd. Canelo lost to Terrence Crawford. Canelo lost to Dimitri Bivol. I personally believe that he lost to Erislandy Lara as well. But he may have lost his 3 biggest fights, like the biggest fights he may have lost. But those weren't his only big fights. And I want to be very clear. When he lost to Dimitri Bivol, 175 is not Cinnamon's weight class. He moved up to fight Dimitri Bivol, right? So let's not forget that. That's number 1. And number 2, Dimitri Bivol was not a big fight. Nobody knew who Dimitri Bivol was until after he beat Cinnamon. So what I'm saying is that Canelo versus Triple G was a bigger fight than Canelo versus Dimitri Bivol. What I'm saying is that Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, that was a bigger fight than Canelo versus Dimitri Bivol. So even factually speaking, if you go to the logistics and the economics of it, Dimitri Bivol versus Canelo was not one of his biggest fights. I mean, it was one of the biggest fights, but it wasn't the biggest fight. Because Dimitri Bivol did not have a name. Triple G did. Billy Joe Saunders did. Miguel Cotto did. Sugar Shea Mosley did. Okay. I could argue that Austin No Doubt Trout versus Canelo was bigger than Dimitri Bivol. It wasn't bigger, but you know why it wasn't bigger? Because of Canelo's name was bigger, not because Dimitri Bivol was adding to the pot. Dimitri Bivol was just another person that we thought Canelo was going to beat. That's why it was an upset, despite Dimitri Bivol being bigger. So what I'm saying is that Dimitri Bivol was a risk. It wasn't a perceived risk at the time. Some people call it retroactively. They say, oh, it was a cherry pick gone wrong. Dimitri Bivol is an undisputed champion at a higher weight division than what Canelo competes at. So next time you hear somebody say that Kawasaki has a better resume than Canelo, just go back and reference the biggest Canelo hater on earth. On the surfaces of the earthaces, they couldn't even agree with it. And they tried to save face by saying that they picked Kawasaki to beat Canelo, but they couldn't even agree. Nobody that knows boxing would ever tell you that Canelo's resume isn't better than Joe Kawasaki's. That's it. End of story. A supporter says Yard would be... Well, how do we get there? How do we get there, bro? Caroline, you feel me, Thomas? You feel me? That's all. Oster says, in all honesty, you have to consider every fighter on the contender a real fighter. If we expect Jake Paul, what you think? No. So I'm not saying they're not a real fighter. So let me revisit that. I'm not saying that the fighters from the contender aren't real fighters. I respect Grady Brewer. I respect Steve Forbes. Steve Forbes fought Oscar De La Hoya. What I'm saying is that Steve Forbes, okay, let me say this. Let me say it like this, Oster. And this goes for anybody in the chat. It's like Pro Box, right? I'm not disrespecting the fighters, but a guy from Pro Box, if you are a great fighter, a guy from Pro Box probably is not going to be your best win. You understand what I'm saying? It won't be one of your best wins. So the point that I'm making by saying, I'm not saying that the guys on contender aren't real boxers. They're great. But what I'm saying is that outside of Sergio Mora, a guy from contender shouldn't be one of your best wins. If I tell you to name me Oscar De La Hoya's best fights, nobody would say Stephen Forbes because he's from contender. Nobody knows. You see what I'm saying? If I say who's one of Canelo's best wins, no one's going to say Alfonso Gomez because he's from contender. But if I say tell me Calzaghe's best wins, you couldn't get past 5 without naming probably 2 guys from contender, Peter Manfredo and Sakio Bika. That's the point that's the difference. I'm not saying contender fighters aren't good. I'm saying that Floyd Mayweather's best wins would not be a guy from contender. That's what I'm saying. The only one that's acceptable to be one of your best wins is Sergio Mora. Shout out to Danny Jacobs and the guys that fought Sergio Mora. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody else, no disrespect to them. Bro, K9 Bunders is a beast. I watch that show religiously. But that's not, no, sir. Shout out to my brother Big Dog Willie with the membership, man, coming through with the new membership. No, not the new membership, excuse me. He's renewing his membership for 8 months. He committed to another 30 days, said I'm not going nowhere.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on.
Excuse me. Just Walk the Truth said Jeff Lacey. Jeff Lacey's a good fighter too, but yeah. A shout out to Big Dog Willie. He says Tank Maniacs are now judging AJ for fighting Tank. Tank Maniacs are now judging AJ for fighting Jake. Are they? That's crazy. And that's true. That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I want to talk about this too. The only reason why I didn't make a video about it is because I'm not completely certain. I haven't finished my research on it. I was looking into it, but I didn't finish. But I heard that, I'm a Gervonta Tank Davis guy, man. I do not support any type of domestic violence, though. So if that's true, again, then, that's shameful, Definitely denounce that. But I try to keep it boxing around here. But I heard, excuse me, and I heard this coming out of Coach Kenny Ellis's mouth, essentially, right? It was on a tweet he was talking about that they're potentially taking Jake Paul to court for punitive damages. And I just thought that was funny because, no disrespect to Tank, I rock with Tank, and I said this for everybody. I always thought it was funny that people made fun of Devin Haney for taking Ryan Garcia to court. So if Gervonta Tank Davis is taking Jake Paul to court, he was going to say, oh, it's different. Nah. At the end of the day, it's a fighter taking a fighter to court, right? Which people say is bad. I think it's business. I didn't think anything was wrong with Devin Haney suing Ryan Garcia because he's not suing him. People try to manipulate the situation to turn it into what they want. Devin Haney was not suing Ryan Garcia for the fight. He was suing them for breaching the contract, which excludes certain things from being involved in the fight, like PEDs. That was a breach of contract. That's why you get sued. Just like when Frank Warren sues Anthony Yard for going to try to fight for another promotion, you're breaching your contract. Just like when Steve Cunningham attempted to sue or file litigation against Antonio Tarver when he tested positive in their fight. Yeah, you don't know about that because you don't pay attention to boxing like I do over here. Like we do over here. You feel me? So that's standard procedure. It's business. He should have sued his draws off. Check him for every penny he has in his pocket. This ain't the street, bro. And if it was the street, you got all these Italian mafiosos and mob bosses out here snitching every day on Vlad TV and all these other outlets, right? You got all these gangsters, Parus and all these other gangsters snitching on all types of stuff. So it seems like the gangsters ain't abiding by gangster rules either. You know what I'm saying? The gangsters and the thugs and the mobsters and all these other guys, they're not abiding by no street rules. They're boxing, bro. This is a professional sport. So people try to involve things that have nothing to do with the sport. If someone violates your contract and makes you lose potential sponsorships and they cheated you, you're messing with your livelihood. Sue they draws off. I don't know what you talking about. You know what I'm saying? Rich is gangster. Ain't that what being able to take care of your mom is gangster? Rich is gangster. That's what Rick Ross told us, right? So nah, that's not you. The same people over here calling people soft for taking somebody to court for cheating in a boxing match and violating a contract and a breach of contract and violating the terms and conditions that were agreed upon in the fight are the same people listening to content creators in the boxing space that are known informants and snitches. Get the freak out of here, bro. People pick and choose when they want to live by a certain code or code. What code? I don't know. You don't know me. I don't know you. I don't know what kind of code you abide by or live by or swear by or die by. People just be talking, man. A lot of times when people be trying to check if somebody's on code or off code, you ain't even got no code established in the first place. It's your sucker self. You a sucker, man. Stop judging people, man. Man, I like Tank, but like I said, I'm not accusing him of that because I don't know, but I have heard and I have seen talks about discussing potentially suing Jake Paul, and I think he should sue him too. But if you're going to sue somebody for a breach of contract, don't talk about somebody else doing the same thing. Because at the end of the day, regardless of why you're suing somebody for breach of the contract, you're still suing somebody for a breach of contract. You're still filing litigation. You're still gonna have to go through. The judicial system. So, and shout out to, I'm not knocking Tank because I don't know if it's true, like I said, but I've been hearing that. But anyway, I'm gonna open up the phone lines for a little bit. Let's get these calls, man. Let's get these calls popping, man. Yeah, I think that was whack. But I've been saying that, chat. I said anybody who knocks Devin Haney, and I'm not even a Devin Haney fanboy like that. Y'all know what time it is. I bet on Ryan Garcia to beat Devin Haney, but I just don't like cheaters, and I definitely don't like racists. You know what I'm saying? But I don't rock with cheaters. You know what I'm saying? I rock with I'm down to give people second chances, you know what I'm saying? But I just yeah, I'm not saying this because I'm defending Devin Haney. Like I said, I picked Ryan Garcia to beat Devin Haney, and I was right until I was wrong because the dude cheated. And I'm also picking Brian Norman to beat Devin Haney. I just stand on business, man. I'm not wishy-washy, bro. I'm very consistent. If I'm not the most consistent boxing content creator, I don't think y'all know what consistency is. Whether I like you or not, no one's infallible. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I think that I always thought that was whack for people that act like somehow Devin Haney did something wrong because he was a victim of a cheater. I never hear anybody talk about Galal Yafai for potentially seeking litigation against Francisco Rodriguez, where Francisco Rodriguez cheated him. I never see anybody knock somebody for getting cheated as much as this. I don't even really care for Devin Haney like that. It's just crazy. I hate cheaters. However, am I wrong for liking Conor Ben? No. That's the thing though. It's bro. Look at this. Look at this. Oster. Who is that? That's Tyson Fury, bro. Tyson Fury popped dirty twice. You know, one for cocaine and I believe the other one's for nandrolone. I'm not saying you can't like somebody, but you would never hear me say he's not a cheater though. I'm not saying that you like I said, bro. We're human. We mess up, you know what I'm saying? I think that's weak. I'm not saying that you have to excommunicate somebody because they cheat. But what I'm saying is don't diminish the effects of cheating because you do or don't like somebody. I don't care what the substance was. If it's on the banned substance list and it's declared a PED, a performance enhancing drugs, or your performance was enhanced by said drugs, then you're a cheater. Even Canelo, as much as I like Canelo, Cinnamon's my favorite fighter. And I was hurt. You guys, my partners back in the day. I was like, man, I don't know if I can rock with Canelo, man, because he cheated. But then what I respected about Canelo and Alicia Bumgarner, they didn't have 11,000 stories, right? Like Ryan Garcia. They had one story. They stuck with it. They said it was contamination. They took it to court, went through the judicial system, and they proved that it was accidental. Players mess up too. And also, they never were caught cheating on the night of the fight. So people like to practice revisionist history. Canelo, you could say he cheated during the Triple G training camp. He did not cheat when he was in the ring with Triple G. He never failed a test for being dirty in the ring with Triple G like Ryan Garcia did. Neither did Alicia Bumgarner. Her test came back clean. It was before the fight, which is why, if you pay attention and don't practice revisionist history, Canelo, the second fight with Triple G was initially scheduled for May. And Canelo traditionally fights when? In May and September. The fight was pushed back to September because he was initially suspended. He took it to court and he got the suspension reduced, and they still had the fight. The fight commenced in September. So it's not like, oh, he fought Triple G, he got caught cheating. But if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, I think Fury, I think his test came back dirty for his first fight with Klitschko. If I'm not I know the cocaine was on the buildup of the fight, but the nandrolone, I believe, was during the fight of the Klitschko. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but it was closer to the fight than the Canelo one was. I know that for a fact. I have to go back and look it up. That was a while ago, but yeah, I still like Tyson Fury. So I'm not saying because I thought Carter Ben's performance was good too. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that he's getting a little bit too much praise for the circumstances surrounding the Chris Eubank fight and the fact that he was a cheater. You know what I'm saying? I do, you know what I'm saying? It's going to take more than that for me to be convinced of Conor Ben. You see what I'm saying? Like, I need him to go get a belt. I'm going to need him to go beat, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even if it's a Mario Barrios, he's been calling out Mario Barrios. Go get a WBC belt for Mario Barrios. Go get a WBA belt for Rolly Romero. Go get a IBF belt for Lewis Crocker. Go get a WBO belt from Brian Norman. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'll give you credit. But beating Chris Eubank, given the circumstances, it's a cool win. It was an entertaining fight, so I'll give you credit for a good performance. But I'm not going to jump out the window and be like, oh, he's such a great fighter. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. He said, let me see. But yeah, man, Thomas Hill said, not true. Big Dog Willie just obsessed with He said it ain't true. Big Dog Willie's just obsessed with Tank.
Yeah.
That's a fact, man. Big Dog Willie just obsessed with Tank, man. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. But yeah, man. So yeah, man, that was a show, man. We did 2 hours. We will be dropping the new episodes on the Spotify tomorrow as well at 5:30 in the morning. For those of you getting your commutes in, you know what I'm saying? Check us out on Spotify as well. Dr. Boxing Talk across all boxing platforms, man. I mean, all boxing platforms, but all platforms, you know, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. You feel me? Check me out every Blue Sky. You feel me? Check me out every Facebook. You feel me? Check us out everywhere, man. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, man. You feel me? But we are going to slots. I don't see anybody calling in today. That's actually good because your boy's hungry. You feel me? So I'll be back on the flip side, man. I might be back live. I'm not sure when, but yeah. But if you want to see more of the channel, we dropped 2 videos today. I'll probably drop another one. Depend how I feel about some news. If it's newsworthy, if it's talk worthy, you know, video worthy, I might drop another one. But go check out those videos, man. Smack that like button. Appreciate everybody coming through. Shout out to Big Dog Willie for renewing his membership. And it seems like the super chats are fixed. They were a little broken yesterday, or not yesterday, but Saturday. Super chat was messed up. YouTube was tripping. But we are back in business now, man. So show some love on the super chat. Smack that like button. Shout out to all the members. I appreciate y'all. Don't forget to rock with your boy, man, on all platforms. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold, we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.